Today is all about modern controls. We're going to be talking so much about modern controls. This is going to be like a little crash course on modern controls. So, I've got a lot of surprises for you today.
Yeah.
We're nearing the end of the year. So, not only do we have, hey, Peter, nice of you to
Hey,
join
there.
us. Yeah. So, I was
Peter.
just letting everybody know we've got a lot of surprises today. It's going to be all about modern controls. And I think right away, I'm going to give you a surprise right from the get go. Are you guys ready for this? Here we go. About modern controls. So if you go in to add a control to your canvas here, do you see the modern controls here yet?
No. No.
I don't. Let's go into the settings and see if we can get these modern controls to show up. So we'll go into settings, okay? And I'll scroll down here a little bit, and it is right here, modern controls and themes. And I'm going to make sure that I'm zoomed in here so everybody can see everything. Modern controls and themes. Give your app the latest controls and themes as they are released. Now, keep in mind, when we talk about modern controls, we're also talking about modern themes as well. Themes come alongside these controls, okay? So what we've been using these last few years, well, they're now going to be called classic controls, okay? And the classic themes. These are the themes that we've been used to for a while. So these modern controls, these new controls come with a new theming system, okay? So when enabled, the modern controls will appear on the modern tab of the insert pane. Modern themes will appear on the new themes pane, and classic themes will be removed from the toolbar. So remember that, okay? So what I always do, if I'm ever going to use any of these modern controls, what I will do is I'll go into the theming, the classic theming. And something that I always do, you don't want this thing to be blue because chances are as you build an app, you've got your own custom theming in there. I know I do. If you guys use my Jumpstart kit, or if you guys have any type of dynamic theming with variables and such, well, chances are it's going to clash. Even if your theme has blues in it, it might clash with the shade of blue that's used here. I always go with this light theme because it's a gray. So a color that goes with anything is going to be white, black, and shades of gray. So I always pick light, okay? And if you look at these others, there's always some color involved. And then there's these office ones down here. I've tried the gray. This is the one that I like the best, that I like to set it to if I'm going to do anything. And I do that inside my Jumpstart kit as well. Because if you start dropping things here by default, like a button, instead of it being blue, now it's gray. Now this button will sort of go along with anything. And as you use these modern controls, you might want to use classic controls and the modern controls, okay? So that is something that you will probably want to set in the theming before you bring in those modern controls. So let's go back in here. Now that we've set it to the one theme that won't clash with anything, hopefully, okay? I'm going to go into settings. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to find modern controls and themes. I'm going to select that and I'm going to click close.
So
what do we have?
You do that theme selecting first before you go in there.
Yeah, I would recommend make sure you've got that nice gray. What was the name of the theme? I think it was just light, or was it gray?
I don't remember. It was the third one over though.
Because now I don't have the theme, right?
Right.
Okay, so that was perfect what you did there, Kurt, because now you feel like you're lost out on something. I can go over here. Look, I've got modern controls now, right? But what about that theming?
Yeah.
I sort of want that. So if I had a blue control over here, let's go back into settings. Let me show you another setting that you'll want to be aware of, okay? I'm going to go into upcoming features, and now I'm going to type in modern. Look at this. Keep classic themes. If you want to get back to that classic themes and you're using the modern controls, turn that on, okay? But just realize it's retired. It's deprecated, which sounds like a bad word, right? Deprecated. It's like defenestration, getting thrown out of a window.
So good.
Deprecated means it's eventually going away soon. So don't use it. So it's retired. Just keep that in mind. So now I should be able to go into the themes here and see that the theme that I just asked you about, it is called light. Okay. But look at what else we have over here. Oh, these themes. Now, if I select Power Apps, this is a Power Apps blue. It didn't change anything over here. That's because these new themes affect the new controls. Okay. And you notice it didn't change the classic button. Okay. Now, if I change it to steel, steel has a teal. Steel is teal. A teal color here. So hopefully you guys really benefit from that. These are the little nuances that I wish I'd known when they introduced these modern controls.
Yep. Good stuff. I think this is some stuff this is the typical stuff that we cover in Accelerator program.
That's true.
It's kind of high level stuff.
When I was a kid, there was a game called Legend of Zelda on the 8-bit Nintendo. And the very first thing you did was you went into a little cave to get a little wooden sword. And this old man says, it's too dangerous to go alone. Take this. Learning Power Apps, learning software development by yourself is dangerous. Yeah, maybe it's not dangerous, but it's really frustrating, right? Don't go it alone, guys.
Right. Which, frustration is dangerous for me.
So what did you think about that? I see you smiling, Kurt.
Yeah. I just think frustration is definitely dangerous for me. Hey, Thomas, how you doing? Hey, you know what? I love the stash going on there, man. That's great.
I like that. We call it called handlebar mustache.
Yeah.
Like
Boy, that's going good. I need to do that.
I do like that.
Very cool.
And Minty says, I like the modern controls and themes. You know what? I'm really starting to dig them too. Kurt, do you like these modern controls?
I was totally underwhelmed with them. And then when we started looking at them in depth, I started getting more and more. They just render nice, I guess that's a word. They just render better, don't they? Yeah.
I really like them. So guys, we got tons of surprises. I'm just going to give you an overview of what we're going to talk about today in this live stream. Okay. You're going to get a full primer of the modern controls. But what you're getting is you're getting a preview of something that Kurt and I had a brainchild here when we put our brains together. Kurt says, hey, I did this. Go ahead and put your stink on it. And I'm like, well, you put your stink on it. And we got this saying is like our two stinks, we put them together and we make cologne. So sometimes when we put our heads together, we come up with some pretty cool stuff. And
then sometimes Rick gets involved and then it becomes perfume.
That's true. Hey, Elvis. And I see Peter and Amber. Guys, if you want to come on as panelists, if you show your video, I'll bring you on. If you hide your video, I'll take you off. And I see you guys in chat. So welcome to the live stream. So far, we've gotten a little bit of a primer. Now, we've got 3 parts to this primer for modern controls today, full of surprises. But as a segue into this, what I'm going to talk to you about here, if you see on the left side of the screen, I've got personal pocket coaching. What do you think personal pocket coaching is, Kurt, just by that name?
Means you got a coach in your pocket.
That's right.
And it's personal.
You have your cell phone, and every morning you've got a personal coach like me and Kurt sharing with you little tidbits, maybe 5-10 minutes every single morning, come into your email inbox. You pull out your phone when you wake up in the morning, or when you sit at your desk and you're starting to wake up, you're drinking your coffee. Just get a little pocket size 5 or 10 minute personal pocket coaching from Darren and Kurt every single morning, every day of the month.
And that turns into quite a collection, doesn't it?
It does. It absolutely does.
So it turns into a reference. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm not sitting here with my handout. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys all kinds of tons of value. And so you'll get a feel for what I'm talking about here. So let's jump back into modern controls. Okay. I'm going to go over here and let's look at the second session of this.
Programs that have classic controls in it, if they're retiring them, are they going to, is our programs going to be all messed up? Are we going to have to change everything over? Is it going to keep it?
I think those are great questions, Kurt. So what I believe, by looking at these settings, if we were to go back in there and look at our settings, upcoming features, and we'll go look at retired, boom. So it's the classic themes that seems that is going to be retiring the theming for the classic controls. I believe that the classic controls will be around maybe forever or for a good while. They're just trying to give you a new, better way, some modern control, something fresh and new, and something that's more stylish for the new age in the last few years.
For some reason, my mind, I had a senior moment, and I went from classic themes thinking that was the classic controls, and oh no, the classic controls are going away. No, it was the themes, Kurt.
I think it's a very appropriate question that I think a lot of people have. Okay, we got modern controls, so we don't use the classic controls anymore. Well, let's go look at all these modern controls that we have here. Okay, so we'll go in here and we'll say insert. We have a button, a slider. Those are the only two that are input. Okay, we got input, we have display, we have preview. Okay, and they're still working on these controls. It's almost like they're allowing us to be beta testers, right? Or alpha testers.
Right.
So we got two input controls. Over on Classic, how many input do we have? Well, we have a lot more.
Several, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think these are going away. In fact, Copilot is considered a classic control, and it's brand new. I doubt that's going away anytime soon.
Probably not.
So we have the chat bot there. We've got timer. Do we have any timer for the modern? No. So I think those classic ones are going to be sticking around for the long term, maybe indefinitely. In this video, I just want to go over and see what's available as of this moment. Now, you might come in here a few months later and you might notice maybe there's twice as many controls here. Okay. We never know what Microsoft's going to do.
That's right.
So right now we do have a button, which I've added. We've got a slider. Hopefully it looks better. I think that looks better than the classic one. Okay. We have a link control now. Okay. Now you could do that with a label just by making it blue and underline and do something on the click event, right? But we actually have a URL property. And something you'll notice about these modern controls is we don't have nearly the amount of properties as we do with the classic. Right. And I believe that will be changing over the long term. They'll be adding more and more properties, and they want you to give them feedback up here. Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up, Darren, because I have a question. Do you suppose, I noticed that too, like for instance, a label. The label doesn't have near the properties that the classic label has, right? Or
right.
Button. I'm wondering if it's because they want you to use the themes and they're more geared towards the theme. So you don't have all that color changing and stuff. You're just going to go ahead and it's just going to put the themes. That's one of the reasons why I used the classic, was because I didn't have control over the colors that in the modern, but
that's a good
I'm
point.
Wondering if they're trying to get to a point where they're just going to go with themes,
Yeah. That's not a bad assumption. That might be a good thing for the industry of Power Apps developers. I know you and me, we like to have a control as being developers, being able to have control over all the pixels of what's going on there.
Yeah.
And if we don't, we just end up creating our own controls, right?
Yeah. It just, I hope, who knows where it's going to go. And, sometimes you just have to embrace it. There's been many times when I didn't like the introduction of something new, but then after a while I liked it. I'm one of those, like you said, we talked about control. I like the flexibility of having all that stuff. Maybe I use it. There's a lot of stuff in the button that, like the hover and all that, I use maybe 1% of the time, but I want it there in case I do need it for that 1% of the time,
Absolutely.
So
you notice we have a tab list here. It can go horizontal, go vertical. This would make a good menu. If you had to build a menu really quick, I sort of like that. I like these. Yeah. They look really nice. Okay. Got a tab list. Okay. What about, this says preview. So we have a badge. Have you ever seen this little thing where it just has your initials instead of a profile photo?
Now that's something there. I never even knew about a badge. I didn't even understand. I seen the badge. I didn't even know how to use it until you showed me one time. We probably should do a video on that.
We should.
Because I think there's a lot of people that don't know how to do that or don't know about it.
And I remember in one video, we actually went and found the individual letters that we wanted to display there. Okay, so we got a checkbox, combo box. We have a date picker. And this
Now,
date picker, a lot of people hate the old date picker, don't they?
I like this date picker. I think it's pretty smooth.
I do too. Yeah, this is good stuff.
Now those are the two so far that I've used that I've really liked. That one and the drop down list I think is real professional.
Okay, let's bring over this drop down list.
It just seems like the classic one never renders right between the selected and the non-selected, and it just seems this one renders so much nicer.
Yeah, and of course, drop down list controls sometimes are confused with combo boxes.
See how nice that renders? Now bring a classic over and just and do the same thing and see the difference.
For the drop down or a combo box?
Drop down.
Right. Oh yeah. Once you get used to these moderns, like, oh, this is big and clunky, right? Look how big and clunky that looks.
Look, and the way when you go up and see how it's always flashing around, and the colors are changing in it and everything. It's just all weird. But then it's real smooth when you go over to that one. See how smooth that looks? I just like the way it renders better. It's more professional looking, I think.
All right. What else we got? We have a form. We have a new form, Kurt. We got to try this out.
I sense a live stream's coming our way. I sense there's going to be a big live stream event dealing with all these different things.
Yeah, we'll have to look into this. I just brought 3 form controls over here, and I don't see them anywhere. Oh, that's why. They're there. You just can't see them. Yes. So we'll have to do a video on each of these controls. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So far, I don't know that I like the form control. I can't even move it.
Yeah, by the time it's over, watch, I'm going to start using forms everywhere.
Oh no. Who likes forms? Elvis, do you like forms? I'm going to look at this here. What's going on? I'm hoping Darren will love this form. So we have a part 3 coming up here in a few minutes, guys. And I actually do get the form control to work for you guys in this third session. So guys, these are examples of little pocket coaching sessions that you'll receive in your inbox each morning. If you sign up for it, if you're interested. But I'm just looking through this, making sure we're keeping up to date on the comments here. Yeah, absolutely. Urs, from Switzerland. Merry Christmas to y'all and Happy New Year. Absolutely. Right back at you. And Rick seems to like these modern controls. And I think since Rick has seen these new modern controls, he's thinking about building some apps for himself. And I do see MD here. Perhaps MD is a medical doctor. There's still limitation of modern controls, like the reset function. Good for dev, not good for prod. Yeah, so this actually it's sort of like they're using this as beta testers here. But guys, I don't want you guys to be left in the dark once they make these public and ready for production. I want you guys to be prepared. I want you guys to have been seeing these controls, getting used to them. Use them in dev. Absolutely. Yep. And they are developing these quickly because I took a look at the modern controls before this week. And let me rearrange everything here so we can see everything. Okay, and also, guys, if you're showing your video, I'll bring you on as a panelist. If you hide your video, I'll take you off. What was I just saying, Kurt? I think I almost lost my train of thought there.
You were talking about how they've increased the number of controls since the last time you looked at them.
Yeah, not only that, but they're adding more and more. They're adding properties, they're adding functionality there. So it's good to see that they're like really pursuing these modern controls. And these modern controls used to only be available, if I'm not mistaken, in the Power Apps for Teams. And they've been sitting out there, and some people are like, oh, there's these modern controls out here in Power Apps for Teams. And some people like copy and paste them over into a regular Canvas app. And so they finally released these. So it's sort of exciting. And I'm gonna put this out there. I think over the next few months, you're gonna see these really get developed more and more. And so any type of bugs and missing properties, we're gonna see these pop up. And also from MD here, will the pocket coach chase me after a feature that I have yet to develop? Yes. Okay, Minty, I use modern date control in the near past, but I don't see it in your tenant. So the video that you just saw Minty there, so Minty's an Accelerator student. Now that video that we just played there, that was in the tenant. So as you see here, I'm in Power Labs US. Minty, make sure that you go in there and perhaps you've already turned this on, but go in here and make sure this is turned on. Okay. And then I'm going to click close, and I'm going to see if I got the date picker. Okay. So I'm going to say date. There it is. So Minty, if you still don't see it, let me know, and I'll make sure that that option is turned on in your environment. So just FYI, guys, if you sign up in the Accelerator, you guys get your own environment inside of our tenant called Power Labs US, and you get your own environment, you get your own database, you get your own SharePoint site or sites. Generally, I turn all the options on, all the AI features, everything, so you guys have a nice sandbox to play in. Typically, your IT department will tell you no and shut everything off and won't allow you to play and have fun and to learn. Where I'm the exact opposite.
Thomas is smiling over there.
What's that?
Thomas is smiling over there. You know, he comes to us. He's an IT person, so he's what do you think? What do you think about that, Thomas?
Yep, I'm usually the one saying no.
I gotta admit, I've done that before myself, working in IT, wearing different hats. I've been a network administrator, a server manager, developer, a help desk guy, all kinds of stuff. And I tell you what, as a network admin, I'm like, somebody would stop me in the hallway and like, oh, my computer, fill out a ticket. And but you can sort of lose your mind working in IT, you know. So in a little bit of a way, I almost don't blame it. Go ahead, Kurt.
Most of the time you do need to say no, right? Because there's a lot of people out there that don't know what they're doing with stuff. But I'm different. You shouldn't say no to me. You know, that's what everybody thinks too, right? So so IT's always they're always mad at IT. Poor IT.
And Elvis says, I'm hoping Darren will love this form. Maybe. And you'll see here in part 3 how it starts to grow on me. Kurt and I need to do a little bit more exploration, some deep dives on this form control. Kurt's saying no. So
I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. Yeah, I go down the path of saying I don't want my Power App to look like a Power App. And it just, you know.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. The classic controls, they sort of look clunky, and I do my best to make them look nice. So Ian says, I'm a complete beginner in Power Apps. Well, welcome. You're in the right place, watching along to understand the changes that I should get ready to embrace. So if you are a beginner, and you guys may not know this, if you're new, check out our school community. This is a free community that I run. I used to have a crash course I would sell. I give it away for free now. So you got a free community, you got a free crash course. So if you go here, let me actually display something here at the top, just in case anyone needs the link here. And I believe it's right there. So it'll appear on my forehead, me and Kurt's forehead there. Power Platform Community from tinyurl.com. And that will bring you here. Now, if I click on this little icon, I could also put it here in the chat. So guys, this is free. I'm trying to help everybody out all around the world for free. It's a free community. There's 750 members in here. So not only do me, Kurt, Elvis, we have Rotish. I've got several staff members that will help you get your questions answered here. But also go over to the classroom. We've got all kinds of resources over here. Okay. Here's the crash course. Now, something that people don't realize with this crash course, talking about an absolute beginner, Ian, if you go over here, this is a video that we did a while back. Now, it's almost 3 hours, but it goes over all the basics. So within the course of an afternoon, okay, you can feel like you've got a handle on the basics. So you say you're a complete beginner, but you won't be there for very long.
Now, Darren, you weren't sharing your screen. I don't know if you were intending to or not. So
Oh my
when you were,
goodness.
because I don't know if Ian saw that or not. So
Thank you.
yeah,
I messed that up.
that's what I'm here for.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to move myself around here. So what I was going to say here, yeah. So here's the community. You see there's 750 members and we've been growing quite a bit.
Yeah.
You know, the material, the community is sort of like a Facebook group, but it's like 10 times better. There's no advertisements. There's no distractions. And we're all here trying to master Power Apps. So, yeah, so Ian, head over there, join the community, chat with us there. What's great about the community, and I'm not trying to get everybody off of YouTube by any means, but let's say you've got a problem with your app, with Power Apps, and you try to post something in a comment and say, Darren, I'm having problems. Like, okay, well, send me a screenshot or send me a Loom video. You guys ever heard of Loom? LOOM.com. It allows you, it's a free app, a free service where you can record your screen and send me a link to it, it just allows us to more easily interact here because you can post a video, you can post your screenshots, you can post code. We're a little common on YouTube. It's just really hard to help people inside of comments within YouTube, but I certainly still do try. What else did I want to show here, Kurt? Back to the classroom. Just this morning, I'm giving you guys a preview for what has only been available to the Accelerator students up here, which are Kurt's practical labs and exercises. And you can see the first, look at this mug shot here, this smiling mug.
I never changed my shirt. I think I'm wearing the same shirt maybe.
Oh my goodness.
Gosh.
I'm glad we're virtual. You might be stinking.
Perfume. Okay.
So yeah. Kurt has a video here, which is the introduction and overview. Now, I just put these in here to let you know, so animation, color, collection, mastery, and Kurt, even after that, you're going to be jumping into mastering data. I'm really excited about that. Yeah. But right now, guys, for free, you guys can sort of sample. And now it's only lab one. Right now, the Accelerator students are those who are actually benefiting from Kurt's practical labs and exercises. When I started the Accelerator program, guys, I called up Kurt. I'm like, Kurt, you've got to help me out here, man, because you used to teach me at college. And you taught me in such a way that everything stuck. I learned it. I wasn't just copying and pasting your code. You didn't use a textbook. You used practical labs and exercises. And that's how I learned it. I had all kinds of aha moments. I'm like, I get this. And I guess you saw so much value in what I learned, you actually hired me working right beside you. So anyway, I'm trying to keep an eye on all the
right.
Go ahead.
Just like in college, we teach I taught what was practical out there, not what a textbook said, what you actually used and did. So once you learned that, and you learned that very well, well, then you were ready for the market. You were ready for the job market. You were ready to be working. And I said, well, let me snag this guy up, because he knows it. He's the one that I taught. I know he knows it. So yeah. You're doing the same thing. Essentially, you're doing the same thing now, with this. And we recreated that whole environment here. We don't teach what textbooks. Of course, that's one of the problems with Power Apps. There's just the documentation is all over the place, right? And it's hard to find a good central place, and sometimes the documentation isn't even right. But
outdated too,
right? But with this, and you know what, that's true with anything in computer science, right? You said something about these modern controls are being beta tested right now. Guess what? All software is beta tested because it's constantly changing, and it's constantly changing. So we never really have a grasp on anything, right? But that's what's so nice about the Accelerator program is that we're changing along with it all the time, and we're teaching practical stuff that you're going to be actually going out there and using in your jobs. You're going to be doing it currently. Most people have projects right now they're working on. You can use this stuff currently. You're not just sitting here trying to come up with some kind of theory in a textbook, although we do talk about theory. We do talk about theory, but we do it in a practical way. So, yeah. I said all that to say, yeah, you're right, Darren.
M. Chandra says, can you show how to use tabbing for modern controls? You know what? I'm so glad you asked that, M. Chandra, because I've got an even bigger surprise for you after I play the third part, the third session of personal pocket coaching. that we're going to start creating a brand new Jumpstart Kit template. And you guys are probably familiar with my Jumpstart. It's the template I always use when I start a new project, where we're going to create a brand new, fresh new Jumpstart Kit using these modern controls. And the very first thing I want to do, I want to create a menu using this tab control that you just mentioned. And I'm also trying to keep to date with all these. The comments are coming in, so lots of good practice here for any software developer. Absolutely. You have anything to say about that, Kurt?
Nope, he said it all. Vincent said it. I couldn't have said it any better. I would have made it profound though, but yeah.
All right. Downside: can't modify the color properties of modern controls. Yeah, that's something they need to open that up so we can define our own modern themes. I can't imagine them not doing that, but they didn't give us any control with the classic themes. So that's what I build into my Jumpstart Kit, is my own dynamic theming that can be changed on the fly. It can be very customized. A lot of people like it. Were you about to say something?
Well, I'm hoping that, and I've seen that in other theming. Your Jumpstart Kit did a real good job replicating that where you get into the what's the word I'm looking for in that, where you get into the details of your theme. Like I want borders to look like this. I want text boxes to be this size. So I'm hoping that they're going to put that kind of detail into this theming eventually, because like he said, white control on a white border or backdrop doesn't look good. White control on a white backdrop, it doesn't.
We need full control, Kurt. We need control.
Yeah, I always said that programming is the only thing that you have total control over. I mean, everything else in life you just don't have control over much, but with programming you have control. And now they're taking that away from us. I just don't know what to do. I don't know what I might pass out or something.
All right. Yes, that's very valid, Ryan. Simple Chattel. Help me pronounce this.
Simple Chatelaine. That's Anne-Marie.
Hey, Anne-Marie.
She's one of our Accelerator students. And boy, you talk about, she did a little pebble snatching recently with these responsive apps. She's been working with these responsive apps. She came in here. I'm hoping that she can say she's gotten some value from Accelerator. She came in with this real big struggle on responsive apps. And, this responsive app technology with Power Apps, it's ever changing and it's getting better. And so we came up with some ideas and where to start with it. And then she came in and took that idea and took it to a whole nother level. So it's pretty cool. Good job, Anne-Marie.
Yeah, very cool. So guys, if there's a lot of you that are in the Accelerator program. So our Accelerator program is a small, tight-knit group of people. We're raising an army. We're leading an army of Power Apps developers, and we also try to teach the other stuff, the Power Automate, Power BI, to make sure you're well-rounded, Power Virtual Agents. But I pull in experts that are experts in those areas, because I don't know everything. Sometimes people think I know everything, but I really don't. So Alec, love y'all's channel.
Thank you.
I love interacting with you guys. And sometimes you guys will book a call. By the way, that's free. You guys can book a call with both me and Kurt and talk to us. Sometimes people are really stuck. Sometimes people are stuck for like 2 or 3 weeks on something simple, and they get they book a call with me and Kurt, and in 5 minutes we got it solved. And they're like, "Oh my goodness!" People almost start crying, like, "You don't know how long I've been," right?
It happens. It absolutely happens.
Sometimes the first 30 minutes were almost like a therapist, like, okay, get it all out. You can almost be traumatized if you think that software development isn't supposed to be challenging, because it is challenging. Even for me, when I'm trying to do something new, it's still challenging. I still encounter and that's really just how it is, right? Nothing is ever simple, right, Kurt?
Never simple.
So if you guys are in the Accelerator and are really happy that you're in the Accelerator, so I know there's a lot of interest that people express here on the live stream. So guys, if you're in the Accelerator and have really benefited from it, feel free to comment in the chat so people can see that. So I'm going to go on. Let's see. Do they roll out modern controls to government? Yes. If you're part of a government tenant, you're a few months behind, unfortunately. And that is what drove. I worked for the state of Florida. And what I did was I was tired of all this government tenant stuff because there's a higher standard in the government offering that Microsoft does, maybe with security or other things that needs to be more stable. So it's a few months behind. Okay. What that drove me to do is just go out there and pay Microsoft. It was like $5 or $6 a month. I got my own tenant. I got my own SharePoint. I got my own email address. I got my own M365 Office 365 tenant that I could manage for $5 or $6 a month. At the time, I think it's gone up to maybe $7 a month if you go monthly, and $6 if you make an annual commitment. But you could sign up for free, and so you can actually see what the commercial tenants are like. And of course, if you join the Accelerator, then you're part of our tenant. So you can play in a good sandbox that's not restricted with the government tenant stuff there. Definitely getting value from this program. Well, thank you. Thanks for letting us know that.
Now I want to talk Thomas. He's over here in a different chat, and he was talking about how he was just curious. How did you guys figure out Power Apps when it first came out? And what I really want to say about that is through a lot of trial and error, obviously, right? But when you learn the fundamentals of programming, if you stick with your fundamentals and you got a good grasp of your fundamentals, it's not a big jump to go into any new platform, because everything's going to be, they're all going to have the same tenets, right? You're all going to have iteration. You're all going to have conditional branching. You're all going to have assignment statements and functions. You just got to figure out how to operate within the syntax of that platform. And that's exactly what Power Apps was, this new platform with a new syntax. And there's a little struggle with that. But if you have those fundamentals, if you have that basic grounding, then it's not a big jump to go into anything when they introduce it. Darren learned those fundamentals way back in the 90s using Visual Basic. And we thought Visual Basic was going to be here forever. But guess what? Here's Power Apps. But there's Darren. It wasn't a big jump for you, was it, Darren? Not a big one. I mean, there's struggles. There's struggles. There's still struggles today. I know when Darren was showing me Power Apps, I was like, this is a toy language. It's stupid. I thought it's terrible. And I couldn't figure out how to do assignment statements because, if you guys, a lot of you guys out here, you understand what I'm talking about when you look at these traditional languages, traditional platforms like Pascal or C or C++, C#. You say a variable equals some other variable, right? And you can't do that in Power Apps. You can't say A equals B. You can't say that. You can't say A equals B plus C. You've got to do this. I kind of call it like you're passive. It's like a passive assignment, similar to what you do in Excel, where you place a formula in an Excel cell, and you let the value just captures it. So it's a little bit different. And that was a big hurdle for me. And I remember Darren when I first started looking at this and calling it a toy language. I don't think it's a toy language anymore. I think it's really becoming a strong language. And we haven't seen the beginning of this yet. This is still growing, and it's going to get stronger and stronger. Visual Basic was that way back in the day, right? When you had Visual Basic 2 and 3, we thought it was a toy language. But then when it came out with Visual Basic 4, all of a sudden, and then 5 and 6 came out, and it became a very professional one. So when I told him that, I said, Darren, you can't even assign values in this thing. And he's like, that's because you're thinking like a programmer. You have to think like an Excel spreadsheet citizen developer. And so then that's when I started saying, okay. And I got around that. But once I got around that, then you could just take your programming skills to it. So I said all that to say, yeah, it's not a big jump.
Yeah. So Amber, I'm following the private chat while you were talking there, and I saw Amber. So we have a private chat for the panelists that are on. They're not showing their videos, but they're still chatting here. And I love what Amber said here. This is very true. You won't be a beginner for long. I started following Darren as beginner to Power Apps, and by 8 months of learning, I independently made my first app. And I think there was more to that, but so Amber, if you don't mind, could you tell us a little bit about your experience so far?
Stuck and I didn't know how to do it. And I was like, oh my God, this is so frustrating. I don't understand anything. And I did not have anybody to talk power apps. And then I went on YouTube and then I found your videos. You gained my interest the way you were teaching it. And then little by little, I started learning. And then after that, I remember that I texted you, hey, can you help me? Can you help make a patch video? I'm having a trouble with that. And then you made a patch video. And then after that, I came across, I started learning. I did the lab 1. And then I felt confident on myself. I'm like, now I can take projects. And then the first thing that came to my mind, I was like, I still need to complete the application that I was building like way back. So what about I go back and make the application again from the scratch? And now when I was doing it, I completed the application in 3 days. I was like, boom, everything. I was understanding everything. And I completed the application.
It's all easy, right? Because now you understand it.
It's all easy. And then I realized the way you taught me, I realized how many mistakes these guys were making while giving the instructions. When you're coding and when you're actually a beginner, and when you're a beginner, you just try to copy everything, type everything as it is, as they say. But now I realized why the code wasn't working, because these guys in the ERD, they gave a different name. And when they were giving the code, they had a different name for those columns and fields. And
that's great to hear. I appreciate that.
I'm so happy about it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your experience there.
Yeah, thank you very much, Darren and Kurt and everybody in the school environment. Like, it's a very supportive place, safe place for learning, and you don't get judged by your level of learning.
That's right. You should always compare yourself with yourself from yesterday. Are you making progress? Because if you ever compare yourself to somebody else, somebody else might, maybe they've been in the program or they've been a programmer for a few years. You can't compare your beginning with somebody else's middle or end. Otherwise, you're just going to be frustrated all the time. So always compare yourself with yourself.
Yes. Yeah. And definitely one more thing, your courses and your way of teaching did lower my learning curve 2x or 3x, I would say.
That's great. That's great to hear. Thank you so much for sharing that. That makes my day. I love it. Absolutely. Thanks, Amber. Is there anything you wanted to add to that? I know you said the private chat, it's probably time for you to create a new video or something, but yeah, I loved it. It was very honest, authentic. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, so you've been having a good time in the accelerator. I've seen a lot of progress that you've made, and I love how engaged you are. And we don't accept everybody, just anybody, into the accelerator program. If somebody talks to us, they're like, my boss is making me learn Power Apps, and I'll probably learn the fastest with you guys. Well, we sort of guard our little tight-knit community. We only want like good positive energy. People are passionate, people wanting to learn, but there's things that I can't impart or give to a student. I can't give them passion. I can't give them desire. So these things are the qualities that we look for when somebody applies to get into the accelerator program with us. And I'd say you're like, if I had a classroom, you'd be one of my students that would probably be sitting in the front. You're just like a sponge. You like just soak it all in. I love that about you, man.
Thank you very much.
That's the way Darren was too when I was teaching him. He was the same way. And that's what made him to me, if you're engaged, that's what makes you a star student. For me, when I'm learning, I assume I know nothing about the subject I'm trying to learn. And I go in there, and if I'm not saying anything, you've lost me. If I'm talking and I'm engaged, well, then that means you got me, and so that's a good sign. And, I know that you're self-conscious about yourself with the videos and stuff. I think you did a really good job with that video. And I think that if you would have thought you were doing a video, you would have done it completely different. And you'd have been choppy. You would have been you'd have been stiff, trying to worry about what you were saying and everything. And because that's the way I am. If I go into this video thinking, okay, I got to do a video, I have a hard time, man. But if I just say, you know what, I'm just going to go here and talk about Power Apps and I don't care how it works, well, then I end up doing a good job and it's a first take. He calls me one take Kurt or whatever he calls me. I don't remember what you said, but I get stuff done in one take because I don't think about it. But if I think about it, I'll never get it done right. I'll have to retake,
Kurt, John thinks you're corny. I love it, John. Corny. No, this is good stuff. This is good stuff. This is great stuff. I love this. I love hanging out with you guys, and I'm corny 200%. In fact, Kurt used to call me, what was your nickname that you had for me, Kurt, back in the day?
Scooter. I still call you Scooter.
I was so cheesy and corny. Yeah. John
he'd always be bugging me. He's one of them guys in the class that would always say something about, well, what, Kurt, what do you do about this? And I say, well, Scooter, I'd always call him Scooter in class, and I kind of like having fun, with people poking at him and stuff, so programming is dry, right? So you got to bring something to the table that keeps people kind of on their toes, so yeah, Scooter, come on, Scooter.
All right. Well, we have so much stuff to cover today. We should probably jump back in here. I just want to sort of make sure that we are keeping up with the comments and everything. So modern controls. So I didn't mean for this whole thing to be, a bunch of commercials or anything, but this is my passion. What we're doing in the Accelerator, helping you guys out, running the free community, doing the YouTube channel. This is, as Kurt would say, every day is Saturday. We're having fun. We're having a great time building a community. And this community has grown, not only the free community, but the Accelerator community. Yeah. I feel like I have a bunch of best buddies I can hang out with and do some Power Apps stuff with. Yeah. So you guys have really enriched my life, just being a part, just even being here on the live streams and chatting with me. I don't feel like I'm out here alone. When I first started the YouTube channel to create these videos, I was really serious, and man, going live and doing these live streams and starting these communities has been a blessing, to be honest.
And really, that's what you wanted to do, right? Your whole goal was to recreate that community college atmosphere that you were in, that you experienced, where we were building relationships, and we didn't realize we were building relationships. We were all trying to learn, but we all had those same goals, and really big, strong relationships came out of that. I mean, I've been knowing you now for darn near 25 years, so, I mean, that's what happened. And you wanted to recreate that, and we literally have, everybody knows everybody in there, and it's just beautiful, and everybody's having fun. And like Amber couldn't have said it any better in his video when he said, you can bring stuff to the table. You're not being judged, although I might pick at you now and then, but it's fun. It's all fun. And yeah, it's great. It's a great learning environment. We probably should try to do something here. Oh, I also wanted to say, before we do that, I also want to say that it is important during these moments to let you guys know what we're doing, because otherwise, these announcements that we make are the things that we're talking about, because otherwise some of you guys would never have a clue what's going on with what we're doing in the background here. So I think it's great that we are talking about these things.
Well, I just got an email. Somebody has already signed up for the personal pocket coaching, and I haven't even put the link out there yet.
Great. Hey, that's going to be good. Yeah.
Before I even tell you guys anything about the personal pocket coaching, I just want to give you more value. So let's get back into these modern controls, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay, so we did the badge, we did a checkbox, combo box date picker, drop down form, a header. You know how I've got a header in the
that is smooth. That is really nice. That now,
it's not as nice as my header control, though. What are you talking about?
No. But I mean, that's too much to ask. That would be too much to ask.
I'm going to back out of this real quick because I think it's sort of in a weird place. Like I can't get it to go into design mode. Right back in. This is where I'll play elevator music.
Yeah.
All All right, so now this drop-down list I can move around now. I wasn't able to a few minutes ago. What I wanted to do was move all this stuff down. Okay. And put the header up there. So I'm gonna resist the urge to play around with this control right now because I'm like, what can it do? Where are the limitations?
Right. I'm looking at the you've got the icon sitting over the side there. You got, it's pretty neat looking. You can put a picture in. It's got an image, and then it's got the badge sitting over there to the right. That's nice.
All right. Now this is interesting. So I brought over that form again. Now that things aren't messed up, I closed out and came back in. And notice what it did here. I gave it a border.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't he use a red border? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But maybe, even so this new theme, this red theme that we looked at right here, it's not even using I know it could use shades of gray, but it looks like the dark gray color from the classic theme. So I'm a little perplexed about that. This is a modern form control. Let me just try to pull in at least one theme, and I'll see if it's red or if it's all gray. Oh, no, Kurt. That looks like a modern control. That looks new, doesn't it?
It does.
Let me go in here and set this up to be a new. Ooh, Kurt, that doesn't look bad. We might have to take another look at the form control.
It's kind of nice, isn't it?
It is nice. Now, you know what I want to do? I want to tie into that red color, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. We'll do a video on each one of these. So right now, this is just an overview.
Yeah.
Got to resist the temptation. Information button. What is this? It's just an information button.
Huh.
Just a little I for information. It's sort of cute.
Yeah.
So these radio button, this looks a little bit more elegant. The radio button list for the classic ones, man, they're really big and clunky, aren't they?
Yeah, they seem to everything seems to render better.
Yeah. Okay. Now you don't have to go off to loading.io and make your own spinner, and we got a spinner. Oh, we got a table control.
Oh, I love this idea. I love this. I love grids. I absolutely love data grids.
Here we go. There's SharePoint. There's my site. And let's bring in a customer. Connect. Do I have any data in customer? Oh, Kurt, we can talk to a SharePoint list with this new grid.
Okay.
Now, originally, this data grid, I remember it saying it was only for Dataverse. I'm like, well, there's another reason to use Dataverse because you got all kinds of stuff that you can use in Dataverse. Outside of Dataverse, you don't get those toys. But maybe they've updated. Maybe 70% of people out there use SharePoint all the time.
And they probably listen to your video.
Look, it already has the headers in and everything. So remember that data table I hate?
Yeah.
That always looked like something clunky, right? And it always said preview. I'm excited about that, man. Oh, I think it does pagination. Look at this. It tells us how many rows we have. It's got a horizontal scroll bar. Oh my goodness.
Oh my.
Oh, we've got to look at this.
Oh my.
Yeah.
That's a game
I'm
changer.
excited.
That's a game changer right there.
That's
okay. So now we just got to go down to the simple text box. We're down to the text box now.
Yeah.
That's just simple text. Is that like a label? Is that what that is? A label? Because you got text and text input.
Okay, because next is a text input.
Must be a label.
Yeah.
Must be.
So you got a label and a text box. We call them text box. The new way of saying text box is text input.
I know.
Look at that. And it doesn't have any left padding. So if you've got a text box like this, it's not going to look sort of weird, like offset by 5 pixels.
Right.
That's sort of cool. I might start using these modern controls, man.
Me too. I'm sold on them. I'm sold on them. And of course the toggle. The toggle's the big one for me. I'm a big toggle person. I love toggles.
Oh, I didn't bring the toggle over.
No.
Ooh, this might be a lot better. There are a lot of things I didn't like about the classic toggle. This is good stuff, Kurt.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then the last one was the Copilot, which I believe we saw in the classic listing as well. I think they just maybe want to put it in both places because they want you to use it. I can't imagine it would be the same thing on both of them. So you can connect this to a data source. So if I go make this look at my accounts, supposedly I could ask questions about it. How many contacts do I have or we have? Now, when I worked with this before, it would just air out. Yeah. Unable to provide answers. You've reached the maximum number of requests. Sorry, I don't know that one yet, but I'm still learning. Well, that's the whole purpose of the control is so a user can ask this thing questions about the data.
Yeah,
and we set it up to look at accounts. All accounts. Maybe I've got to set up the views there.
maybe.
Okay. So
Looks like that's another got another video coming.
that's right. Okay, maybe it's going to give us a little bit more information. I selected the view. Nope, it's not going to help us out there. But one of my main questions was, is this the same exact control that was listed under the classic one? So if I go to classic, I can say Copilot preview, and it looks exactly the same.
It does.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. So we've looked at all the modern controls that are out there. And we're back. What do you think of that, Kurt? Are you still excited about all these modern controls?
I am. I'm even more excited now.
And Chris had something to say. So Chris says, I highly recommend the Accelerator program. Been able to complete several highly complex apps. Thanks so much, Chris.
Yeah, nice seeing you too, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of funny. Sometimes, we meet 4 times a week in a live setting. And, after a while, sometimes our students become so successful we don't see them anymore because they're busy out there making money. Hey, come back and hang out with us.
Yeah, we need you to come hang out with us some more, Chris. I start thinking that I did something wrong or something. I personalize it.
When somebody doesn't show up.
Yeah, I get depressed.
Hi guys, can you show how to create a PDF in Power Apps and send it to a colleague? Example, a quote and send the quote with header and some details in a PDF. Now, that's not really the topic for today, but Kurt, is there any tidbit of information you could send somebody if they're wanting to create a PDF in Power Apps?
Yeah, I could. And I'm actually doing some video content on that in the near future. So, because it's part of another lab, an upcoming accelerator lab. So,
that might be good for the personal pocket coaching as well. Is we've got a little 5 or 10 minute video in one of these upcoming mornings where we send that out. Hey, this is how you use the PDF function.
Yeah.
And step 2, hey, how do you send that PDF into an email? Because that's actually a pretty common use case, to be honest. So I do see Ryan, and I do see some private chat. So I'm going to circle back to the private chat here in just a bit, guys. Modern controls and permission management, limiting access to certain tabs, values, dropdowns based on user permissions. Yeah, I actually build that into my Jumpstart kit.
I was getting ready to say
either via Office 365 if user exists. Yeah. While building a template like my Jumpstart kit, it has absolutely 0 outside dependencies. So I'm not using any connectors. And so I've got it all built in, and it's sort of a slick way to do it. And I create variables and everything that manages all that. So that's a great question. Because that's something that almost every app that you write in Power Apps, you need to have some type of security built into that. And Ian says, it's interesting that people can join your tenant environment when joining your training. Means I don't have to watch training on my own MacBook and then try to implement on my work laptop. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That's probably 90% of the reason why you did that. The other 10% was so that we can share easier, but that's a big deal right there.
Yeah, we can share each other's apps. We get feedback. Hey, this is how I did it. That's how you did it. And we could compare notes easier. We can help people test their apps. So it's a great way to sort of showcase and to collaborate now that we have that tenant all set up. And Alex says, Use AI Builder to read a screenshot of your data fields after they are entered, and then use Power Automate to parse the data and format a PDF. Okay, so I think Alec maybe was trying to answer the PDF question. Um, and another advantage of the Accelerator program is that you learn the Icelandic translation of control names.
Yeah, that's what I was laughing about. I had a chuckle over that one. Yeah, because we have an accelerator student from Iceland, and we were working with some a program with him, right? And he was sharing it, and we were all watching it as accelerator students. And yeah, it's really it's kind of cool when you're operating in one language all the time, and then you see something like the Icelandic language come across the screen. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? I thought it was kind of,
Absolutely.
yeah. That's a shout out to David there from
Yeah.
Iceland, from Reykjavik.
And also Ryan, I work in the government, Army National Guard, and there are constant changes in permissions based on role and assignment. Can I PM you and try to get your feedback? Absolutely. Yeah. Um, so yeah, come over to our free environment, make a post there. You can email us. So I'm just going to put our email address here, support@nice.us. And if you guys, any of you want to book a call with us and learn more about the Accelerator program, yeah, reach out to us. Let us know, and we can get that underway. And I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep an eye on the private chat. I think there's been
Yeah.
things come up in the private chat as
I
well.
just wanted to say in that, yeah, when you're booking a call with us, it's good to book a call and let us know what your issues are, the current issues that you're having, so we can understand where you're at, and maybe we can help you. And just we'll see if you're fit for Accelerator. I think that's a great deal there to be able to talk about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I see a private chat question from Thomas. What problems would you look for if you decide to mix some modern and classic in a production app? Well, that's one of the things I addressed in the very first of those 3 pocket coaching sessions about these modern controls. The first one is that you may need to go in there and turn on the classic theming just in case it needs to be changed a little bit. So just to sort of go over that one more time. So that's the biggest thing that comes to mind, Kurt. And if you have anything that comes to your mind, please put it out there as we're talking here. But
I'm still trying to understand what you were talking about there.
so remember when we got the classic themes, the classic controls, then we got the modern controls, the modern themes. Well, here's one thing that you might want to do. If you pull in the modern controls, you're going to lose the classic themes. So I'm going to turn that on just momentarily. And this project here is going to be the new modern Jumpstart kit. Okay. And what I'm going to show you here is if you turn that on, you can get back into the themes here. And what I like to do is pick this light theme for the classic, so you don't have any weird blue colors coming up from the classic control. So that is one thing I like to do. I don't know that there's any big problems that you're going to encounter using both of those controls. I'm going to be using both the classic and the modern because over in the modern, they don't have a timer control. They don't have a lot of the stuff that's already out here. Where's my modern gallery? Right?
Yeah, I did that in one of our labs recently. I threw a modern drop down just to see how it would work, how to mix and match, and there's no problems that I saw. So
very cool. Okay, now that I got that gray theme. Now I don't really need it anymore, so I'm going to turn that off. Okay, and we've got 2 controls here. Now, what I'd like to do, and Kurt, if you don't mind, just keep an eye on the private chat. I'm keeping an eye on the public chat, but not so much the private. So if you see anything there that we need to address, let me know. So what I want to do today is I want to build a menu control. So what we have here is this tab list control. Okay. And this would make for a very cool menu. And earlier in this week in the Accelerator program, we actually built out our own menu control, and it was looking pretty cool, to be honest. I think I might actually pull it up and show you guys here. Look, so we use the header control, okay? But here we used, of course, this second screen wasn't set up. Let me go ahead and copy. Now the problem, not really a problem, but the next thing that we'd want to do inside this application is create this little menu as a component. Okay, so this is simply a tab control. Okay, and if you look at this, we could actually add in, and we use the formulas, name formulas here. Here's all our menu controls. Okay, well, I click expand formula bar here, and I could put little emojis and symbols in here, and they'll actually show up on the menu. I thought that was sort of cool. So you'd think a tab control, it doesn't really give us away like the gallery does, where we can have like icons or images, but you can sort of do that. It's a bit of an elegant menu
Hey,
system. Mm-hmm.
change the alignment once real quick from horizontal over there on the right side.
All right.
That's kind of smooth. Isn't that cool?
Isn't that cool?
You can do it either way, right?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
I think it's time that we make our own user component, our own control, because that was the one thing. Kurt, don't be depressed. I will try to make regular classes meetings. I like it. Don't mess around at Christmas time. People that have the blues during the Christmas time, check in on people during this holiday season, and absolutely.
Yeah, Chris, it's great. Just get there when you can. We love to see you.
Now something I like. Now, Kurt, what is this called whenever we've got this 3 dots? You just call it 3 dots? What do you call that?
That is an ellipsis.
An ellipsis?
An ellipsis.
Look at that. So if you wanted a menu that stayed out of the way, you just make this little tab control really small, and it's smart enough just to give the little 3 dots. And that could be your menu that pops up.
It's a little pop-up menu. Just a little pop-up menu. Nice.
So what we're going to do here, guys, is we're starting from scratch, and this is going to be my new Jumpstart kit. Now, before I delve into this, now this is going to be some intense stuff. You guys looking to jump in and actually start doing stuff, right? We're going to do that. I just want to give you the rest of the information so you guys have this. So if you need some time to think about it, these are the show notes, as I like to say. So there's a link in the, should be in the description below. And I've shared the link here in the chat as well. And just so it's out here, I'm going to paste it one more time in the live chat. That will take you to this particular webpage here. Okay. Personal Pocket Coaching. And what I'm going to go over is the extreme holiday savings. I'm going to make a bonkers, ridiculous offer to you guys. You guys know that probably at least half of my stuff is out here for free for you guys to consume. And I'm going to give you guys even a huge offering here. Okay.
A huger offering.
A huger offering. Now you can either do it monthly or annual. Okay. Now a monthly plan, you'll get Personal Pocket Coaching in your email box every morning. Now that's every single day of the month. That means that Kurt and I will be recording, and they're not always just going to be a series like those 3 for the modern controls, but the modern controls, there's a lot of stuff to go through. So we're going to have a little pocket coaching session for each of these modern controls. And we're going to be covering all kinds of other things, not just Power Apps. We could be talking about some fundamentals of programming logic, database design, database normalization, trying to pick like what's the best data source. Should you be using Excel, SharePoint, SQL Server, Dataverse? Should we be using Airtables, Postgres, MySQL? What's the best data source? These are the topics. So we might have like a tip and a trick day where we just cover one thing. We can cover one function, one control. And you guys know my content. I like to drone on for hours here. And sometimes people just don't have time for that. But people can have time for like a 5 or 10 minute little session, right? And by the way, if you guys are wondering, you Accelerator students get even more of a discount of what I'm about to show you here. Now, the monthly plan, it's $99 a month, but until the end of the year, it's half off. So it's only $47 a month. Okay. Now realize you're getting a pocket coaching session every single morning of the month. Okay. So if I were to click on that, let's see what comes up here. Okay. Just to show you what's being offered so that I can answer any of you guys' questions while you got me here on the line. Okay. So instead of it being 94 a month, it's $47 a month. Okay. And now if you're wondering about the annual, you do get additional savings. It's going to blow your mind what you get if you pay for a whole year up front. I'm going to click on this and show you what you get. So you're going to get a big savings there, but if you purchase before the end of the year, you get it at this price here. If you do that, you get some bonus stuff here. Okay. You get my Jumpstart kit that I sell for $250, and you're going to get the modern Jumpstart kit. That's going to be included in this price. Okay. The full ticketing system that I was selling for $1,000, that's going to be included in this. Okay. In this price. And you're going to get a session with me and Kurt. Okay. And if you go out to Fiverr, you'll see that I charge $250 for a tutoring session. Okay. So anyway, so if you guys want to get some good savings, I would highly recommend doing the annual, and you're going to get access to everything. So if you sign up for annual, what you'll do is, I'll actually bring it up here for you guys so you can see it. Here within the school community. Oh, look at this. Here's one you guys haven't seen yet. Animation and Power Apps. Have you guys ever wanted to have a little animation or bouncing ball? Now, this is stuff that even the Accelerator students haven't seen yet. I see you smiling and laughing. Would you like to comment as to why you're smiling and laughing right now?
Well, that bouncing ball has just been vexing people. It's great. I love it.
Well, tell us a little bit about this, because this is your lab 2. This is an element out of lab 2.
It's a piece of lab 2. Yeah. I guess there's a couple things now that you just kind of threw me out there, I wasn't really, so there's a couple things that I like about it. Number one, it's not really about the bouncing ball. It's about fundamentals in programming. And if you can conquer this and control the bouncing ball on the screen, there's not a whole lot you can't control when it comes to everything else, like simple controls and data, and it also trains your mind to think outside of the box. To problem solve, to really problem solve. And it also teaches you that math isn't really that hard. We make math way harder than it needs to be. So it's kind of fun. And also it teaches you that Power Apps can actually be used to make animated games if you wanted to. And so we learn about sprites. We learn about collisions here. There's just all kinds of cool stuff with that. It's just a kind of a neat little exercise, right?
Absolutely. So if you purchase annually, guys, you'll get access to this little area within it says personal pocket coaching. So whenever you sign up, you get access to everything in the past. And you've got this little interface. If you just buy monthly, pay monthly, then it'll just come to your inbox every morning. So that's like another perk to purchase annually. Go ahead.
There's something I want to talk about, this personal pocket coaching. I know Darren's got a lot of reasons why he's excited about it, and I am too. But I've got something that really excites me about it more that we haven't really talked about. When you're trying to find something, when you're trying to have a solution, what you're doing here with this pocket coaching is you are getting an ever-changing, ever-growing reference library of videos. And you keep these collections of videos, this collection of videos. And so what happens is, now you guys have all been out there on YouTube when you need to try to remember how to solve a problem. Programming, you use 10% of the platform. We're talking about Power Apps today. You use 10% of Power Apps 90% of the time. But then 90% of Power Apps, you got to go and look it up. You use it 10% of the time. So then you got to go look it up and you got to figure out how to do it, the syntax, But so what we have here is you've got a reference to go look up. Programming is about knowing where your reference material is at more than it is anything else. And that's what this pocket coaching is giving you, is a good reference. and it's always changing. And it's a video reference, which means, you guys have gone through this YouTube and the Google stuff. And even with my classes, the labs, the presentations I do, I go on and on and on about a subject like I am right now. And you're like, well, you just get to the point. Can I just get to the point? You got to watch 45 minutes of me going on and on and on and on to get to the point, right? Well, these pocket coaching videos we're trying to get within 5 minutes.
We get to the point quick.
It's just get to the point, get to the point, get to the point. So you're going to have this really great reference library that's probably unlike anything else that, going out there on YouTube and all that. You've got great video content out there and you can learn out there, but you got to sift through it. Here you don't. You can just get right to it. So I said all that to say you got a great reference library here. That's why I'm excited about it.
Yeah. And so Kurt and I have committed to waking up early in the morning and crank out some stuff. So that we might actually be creating more than one per day, but I'm committed to doing at least one a day. So if the month has got 31 days in the month, you're getting 31 pocket sessions that month.
Yeah.
And at least, okay. So there might be some additional things. We're so excited. You might get two and one on one day, or go ahead, Kurt.
Right. And also within this collection of videos, it's not all just stupid pet tricks when it comes to power apps. It's also talking about philosophies and fundamentals. We'll do a 5-minute video on a philosophy or on a fundamental on what to think, on a way to think, so it's a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. Yeah, I think you guys are going to be quite pleased with that. And then Ben also asked, he said the annual deal looks great. Yeah, I try to, when I make an offer, I try to make the deal so good you almost feel obtuse not jumping on it. How does the pricing of this compare with the Accelerator? So this is completely separate from the Accelerator. By the way, if you guys are currently in the Accelerator, you get a even bigger discount. You get 75% off on either of those. So Ben, if you're thinking about signing up for the Accelerator, let us know right away, because we could probably do some type of a deal with everything included, but you'll definitely get the 75% off at the very least. But
Right.
yeah, let us know. We don't really discuss too much of the pricing on the Accelerator because we don't accept just anybody. We want to make sure people understand, because there's so much to it. We literally have an 1.5-hour video where we go through everything that's covered in the Accelerator. So yeah, so send us a line, send us an email at support@Nisus, and we'll set you up with with a call, and we could talk with you. And what we like to do is we like to hear about your individual needs, because we want to make sure that because I take I have a vested interest that you guys will succeed. I don't want somebody going through my program and like they don't finish and they don't do great things. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, colleges, they don't, you have to apply to get in. We're looking for an element, and we've got quite the community based on sort of like the vibe or the atmosphere. Everybody is just loving power apps and loving cranking out apps and stuff. But yeah, if you'd like to reach out to us, you were about to say something, Kurt?
Yeah, I just want to say, this pocket coaching is more of a product. It's a product, like a reference book, like a series. Okay. Whereas Accelerator is not, it's not really just it is training, but it's more of a result. What we're trying to do is we're trying to produce a result, and everybody comes into this with a different need and a different reason, a different goal. And so what we try to do is we try to match you at your map of the world, and we try to give you that result in an accelerated way. So, and that's what's so beautiful about Accelerator program. And that's why you can't just, to say, well, what is Accelerator? It's so hard to talk about. We really got to hear your story. And then we talk about how Accelerator works for you and what it means to you, so.
We just had a second person sign up for the annual plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
I almost feel like this is what do they call that?
It's a telethon. It's a telethon. Well, it's actually, we're unveiling. Today we decided to do this. Look, we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now, and we've been doing some videos, and we're just real excited about it. And I think this pocket coaching is the answer to a lot of problems that we had with Accelerator in terms of with the video content being so big. Sometimes you need to learn, you need to listen to a lecture. You know, you need to go through it and you need to get your popcorn and listen to Kurt talk. You know, but then there's a time when it's time to start trying to, you know, I'm in the middle of this program and I'm stuck, you know. Now we've got this pocket coaching going on here, you know, and it also gives you a wake up in the morning. When you wake up, you look at that, it gives you a frame of mind. It gives you a frame of mind that gets thinking about what you're doing for the day. So it's going to be, there's just so many wins here. You know, there's just so many, when you're dealing with these kinds of things, you got to try to figure out who wins. And here, both sides are just winning in so many ways. It's just great.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys don't see the link or whatever, so those links are out there, and you can click on those. Now if you're in the Accelerator program, I've posted the link inside the Accelerator. If you go over to community, you'll see the post down below here, where I announced the links here. So you got 75% off of what I'm offering there, so you guys get a special discount there. So yeah, for that amount, you're getting my Jumpstart kit, the ticketing system, a session with me and Kurt. It's really a great way of starting off the year. And Kurt, have you ever bought yourself a Christmas gift? Is that a bad thing?
No, you have to. You have to. It's like
Who else is gonna buy
people.
it for you?
Well, that's why people talk to themselves, right? I talk to yes, Kurt, are you talking to yourself again? Yes, I'm the only one that understands me. Kurt, are you
Sometimes
buying
you need
yourself
expert advice.
Exactly. Kurt, are you buying yourself yet another Christmas gift? Yes, I'm the only one that understands me. I need one. You know?
Very cool. All right. Well, let's get on this, Kurt. It's about time to start building a component here, you think?
It's either that or somebody needs to start cooking breakfast. One of the two here. Let's get going.
All right, let's create a component here. So you guys are getting some good training on how to create a component. This is really good stuff. Now, if you've never created a component, I'm going to be going over this fairly fast. Okay. So I want to direct you guys, if you want some good stuff here, go to Darren and say component. Let's see what comes up here. Okay. So here's one I did with my friend Barry over in the UK, component basics. That's a good one. But I talk about creating your own header bar at the top. So if I go into this one here, there is a playlist that I'm going to show you guys. Okay, here's the playlist. And I'm going to share this link. So you guys have that. Look at this. Power Apps application header. So those are some basics of how to create a component. And then I just showed you this one has some good component basics. Okay. But Kurt, I want you to slow me down if I go a little too fast, because we got some stuff to cover here, right? What should I name my new component, Kurt? Is there any type of Hungarian notation I should call this?
I mean, I don't know what it is. CMP?
CMP for component? All right,
Yeah.
let's do that.
That sound good?
Yeah, component. And I'm going to call this menu. Okay. Now, before I would always put a gallery in here to build my menu off of. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this modern control, and this is going to look really nice. Okay. I'm going to go find the tab list. I'm going to bring that over, bring that to the top. Now, what I want to be able to do, now you notice with this control, I can go over and make this vertical. Okay, then it'll go that way. Well, I want my control to do either, just like this control does. And I think what we might need to do is expose or create a property within our component that allows whoever's using our component, even if it's us, to say horizontal or vertical. Okay. So I'm going to name my tab control. I'm going to say tab menu. Okay. So we're going to name all of our stuff, especially since it's the Jumpstart kit. We want to put a lot of good effort in it because it's going to last us for a few years as we're building all these apps from it. Now we do have a size. You could say small. Wow, it's going to make it even smaller. Okay, so we might want to expose that property because we might want to utilize that. What do you think of that?
I think so.
Interesting. And then we've got alignment, vertical, horizontal. Okay. So let's create some of these properties that we want people to be able to set. Okay. Let's call it orientation. And I'll say either horizontal or vertical. Is that how you spell vertical, guys? I hope
think
so.
so. Have you got your zoom up to 150 on that, by the way?
I sure do.
Okay.
Should I zoom up any more?
Well, no, I don't know. I'm for some reason I'm having a tough time seeing it. It could just be me.
Yeah. Now I can zoom in more. Let's go 175 here.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to put our pictures below because our faces would cover up the stuff at the bottom that we want to see here.
You just helped my net. I was going to ask you if you could adjust the mini-me's.
Yeah. I could put us on the side. I don't know if that really helps out too much there.
I kind of like
But yeah, so there we go. Now, what's the data type for this? No, it looks like we got quite a few things. What I want to do is almost create my own little enumerated value like they have. So let's go over here and let me see if I can. I'm going to click create for a moment. And when I go over here and click on alignment, look at this tab list alignment here. Okay. So what I'm going to try is make that the same thing here. So we've got this orientation property at the bottom, and I'm going to click on that. If you click on the right side of it where it says text, it will bring this panel back up. Okay. What I'd like to do is be able to set it to something, I think for right now, text is going to be fine. Now, Elvis or Kurt, if you know how to make a property of type enumerated value like they've done, that's what I want to do. But I don't see a way to do that. Okay. So I'm going to click text, keep it as text. But let's look at the default value. If I click on the name of the property in this corner here, you see it says text. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. Okay. We have vertical and horizontal. Okay. So we're just going to use a string here. And all right, so I'll exit out of that. That's going to be the default value. And for this alignment, I need to tie into that property. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and look at this, it's telling us it's an enum. It's an enumerated value. Okay. So I'm going to open this guy up and I'm going to look at CMP menu dot orientation. Okay. If the orientation is horizontal, then okay. Now, what do you think of that, Kurt? Are you proud of the code that I just wrote here? Does this look good or not?
I'm as you're writing that, I'm thinking, boy, I wish Power Apps would just let us address enums in a better way, But I don't know. Maybe you're dealing with the limitation of Power Apps.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish they would open that up because, Kurt, you and I come from a background of object-oriented programming and doing that type of stuff. It just seems like we need that here. So I'm hoping that they'll open that up and allow us to do that. But for right now, this is what I do. This is what I've done in my other components. So this is going to hold us over until they give us more control as coders here.
Yeah.
Okay, so that has a property that allows us to change this. Now, I think you see this canvas that we have here. This isn't a screen. This is the component canvas. I wouldn't call it a screen. And what we want to do here, we can control the width and the height over here on the side here. But what I want to do is tie it to the height of this control. Okay, now that looks interesting, doesn't it? So this is the tab control here, guys, and I selected it, and even when I made it really small, it's still sitting there like that. That's a little interesting. Now, what is the default height of this tab list? Okay, it is, survey says, 55. Okay, now if I change this to small, is it still 55? It is. Okay, find that a little strange. Now we got some wasted space there. Okay, so this is interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie into this tab menu for the height. I'm going to say menu dot height. Okay, that should change it for us. And we might want to be careful. Sometimes this could cause a circular reference. So let's go look at the height of this control. Right now it says 87. Well, let's just set that to be 100 or 85, something like that. And you know what I think it is? I think I'm having a little bit of a brain fart here, because when you add a control to a screen, let's do that. Okay. We got this screen here, and I'm going to add my component. I'm going to have to zoom out a little bit because I'm just not seeing everything here. Okay. If I click on classic, we do have get more components. And that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for that. I'm going to bring over my my control. Now, it used to be, it was over here. Yeah, custom. There we go. Now, what you notice for this control, not only do I have an error here, but the developer has control over the height and the width. Okay. So I don't create components every day, but that's something that I am remembering now that we're dealing with that. Okay. Now, what you can do for this component here, this tab control for the height, we can make this parent.height. Okay, we could do that. And then for the width, comp menu dot height. And let's go deal with this error. And for the height, let's say 100. Very good. Now, if we go over to the screen, it's sort of a limbo state. If you look over here and you're working with this canvas, some things aren't available until you actually see it on the screen. So I'm going to hit Control-0. That will sort of zoom out for us. Okay. And that's the tab list. I'm going to delete that. And so here is our menu component. Okay. Now, if I enlarge this, okay, this is a little interesting here. We got little ellipsis, and it's what's going on here? It's a little strange. You guys, Elvis or Kurt, you got any ideas?
Not yet.
What's going on here? Okay.
Just kind of watching.
Yeah, I'm expecting this to work here. Okay, so 100, the width is 640. So we've got plenty of space here. And this thing should be growing or shrinking with this parent.
Yeah, can you check the width property of the tab the tab modern control?
The top what?
The tab modern, the tab menu, yeah. Check the width.
Okay. Yeah, the width. So I'm
Yeah, you
looking
can
at
see.
maybe what I should be looking at is parent dot height. Parent dot height. Oh, parent dot width.
Yeah, parent and width. Yeah.
There we go.
There
Thank
you
you,
go.
Elvis.
Uh,
All right. Shoo. I was sweating there, guys. Sometimes it's not easy just doing this stuff off the top of your head.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was that or if it was just the modern control. I wasn't trusting that the modern control was letting us change it. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of bug in the new modern control, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So I can make this take up the full width here. Okay. And I gave it a background color so I can differentiate it between the control and the screen. Okay. So that's the first thing. I want this thing to dynamically change in size here. And we do have a property that changes the orientation. Okay. Very good. And so let's do this. Click on the control, and now we'll type in vertical. Okay, there we go. And it did change. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want this size, this small, medium, and large, to be able to be modified by the developer of my control. So let's say, let's create a new property here. Now, this is where I'd like to have more control. I almost don't want to have these three sizes. I want to put in a number, like how big to make it, because maybe I want it really big, not just subtly larger, right? But let's go ahead and create this size, menu size, maybe. Okay. There'll be an input. And you know what? I think we're going to have to keep it as text because, again, it is an enumerated value. Okay, so if we click on the control here, we have small, medium, and large. Okay, so if I go here, now what is the default? If we just bring over a tab list onto a screen here, which did not happen. There we go. And the size. So the default is large. Okay. I'm going to put large in here. I'm going to say large. Okay, there we go. That's in there. And now for the tab control, open this up, expand that. Okay. If CMP menu dot menu size equals large, then we want it to be large. They just made these changes this week. Have you noticed that? I want to indent this code and I hit tab and it just moves the focus over here. What happens if I select the whole thing and hit tab? Nope, it still doesn't like that. So I'm going to just have to be patient and do something different here. So let me ask you a question, Kurt. So we've got large, medium, and small here. Would you use a switch here or would you still use an if?
Just an if, with just those three things. Just an if.
All right. So if that is that, then we got a large, and then we have an else block. And in what we could do this several ways. We could have another nested if.
I like that.
You like that?
Yeah. because it's actually going to be faster that way. It's
Okay.
actually a fact.
So if it's medium, then we're going to say medium.
Else.
And then here we could do else.
Just a simple else. And then that would be your simple else. Yep.
Now I can hit format the text. Now it's going to indent it over for me. All right. So you like what we did there. Did you know that you can keep giving this if commas and it's the same thing as doing this nested ifs? And you may already know that.
Right. So I'm just not sure how PowerApps processes that. I know that if I know that if I've got a nested if in there, that I'm not going to go down to those other two items. I don't know if the other one looks at all of those else's, does that make sense? In other words, like if you have a comma separating the three elements there, does it look at all three of those elements? Does PowerApps do that? Or
That's a good point.
That's the reason why I like to put that nested if in there, because that way I don't want it to even look at those two if the first one is there. If the first one happens, don't even go any further, Yeah. That's why I do it the way I do it.
So I have seen some people say, well, this looks cleaner, but you've got a valid thought there, Kurt, in that we don't know now with Visual Basic back in the day, we could find out. Yeah. So it's going to evaluate one part and you've got an or, let's say an and, you've got a false, something that was evaluated to a false, and then you've got an and. Well, it's not even going to look at anything else because it already knows it's going to end in a false. So it was more efficient for it not to even look at it. And I think that's what you're bringing up there. That's the type of stuff that you guys learn with us is stuff that doesn't even come up in a typical PowerApps class or course material. We show you all this cool developer stuff we've learned over the years.
And you might think, and this is about mindset, guys. You might think that 3 elements, who cares? It's just fat. It's not going to be that much. But someday you might be dealing with something that's dealing with 1 million elements. And so you want to make sure you're saving machine instruction time. Or maybe, you do that in enough places, it starts slowing your whole program down, So I always just try to think in ways of control, and it's all about control. Don't even look at those things if you don't need to. I have control over the program, not PowerApps, but you've got to learn how the processor works. How is it working? I'm thinking it's an interpreted language, so it's probably looking at every one of those 3 things.
Yeah. So I just tested the small, medium, large. That's working. The orientation's working. Now, if I make this really small, do I get my ellipsis? I do. Look at that. So we could have a little pop-up menu there. Now I'm going to bring up some of the stuff I'm seeing here in the chat. So I did see Jad's comment there, keeping the same height but add a multiply factor. I do that a lot with galleries. So thanks for sharing that. And Indeed says, hi, Darren, just passing by and say a huge thanks from France. Very cool. Learning so much with you. Love your pedagogical way of teaching. Kurt, do you know what that means?
It means like you're teaching beginners. You're just beginner level. Children. Pedagogical means teaching children.
Okay, yeah. Very cool. And then Loic says, what about the switch function?
Yeah.
And that's why I was asking Kurt, what do you think about the switch here? Because I'm almost tempted when I have what I would think is more items than just 2 items. I think maybe I'll use a switch here, but sometimes I get a little Kurt on my shoulder that convinces me like, well, it's probably more efficient if you just do that with an if. But let's say you've got 50 different items. I'd probably use a switch in that case, or anything
any more than 3. I like to use the switch. If there's any more than 3, what you did, that was the max, Now a switch is going to do similar to what we just did right there. Switch is going to work like it's going to go down to the one that it finds and stop. That's the whole purpose of the switch. So if you were the second element into the switch, it would just go down to the second element and it would kick out of there. Now you're still stuck though, and I've given points off in lots of labs using switch statements or case selections. A lot of people like to use that else at the end of a switch statement. So if you're going to use a switch statement, you need to surround this. Proper programming is you surround the switch statement with the amount that you with an if condition, that's so that way it only goes into that switch if it's going to hit those range of values, because you never want to be in a situation where it could be any range of value and have an else in the end of that switch. If you have to put an else at the end of your switch, you did it wrong. That's just the way I look at it. Now it's there and it's there for a reason, I suppose, but to me that is bad programming practice. Poor form.
And just FYI, guys, if we have any developers or programmers in on the live stream, have you ever used a break inside of a for or I don't know. Like, you see Kurt's face right now. He's about to break out. I want a personal pocket coaching session about using break.
The problem that we have with, and I wish we could do it. Hopefully, Power Apps gives us more. But the looping, the iteration in Power Apps is still at a low level, in my opinion. That's one of the things that makes it a toy language, right? But it's getting better because at least they have the for all. But it's limited. It's so limited. But there should be 3 types of for loops, right? There should be 3, or not for loops, but there should be 3 types of iteration. And we're only getting 1. And we're not really getting the full version of the 1 either. So until Power Apps does that, it really doesn't really help us to do a talk about it. But boy, I tell you what, that you just about made me pass out there with that break.
Chris says, how long will Power Apps stick around until there's a new way of doing forms? InfoPath did have its 10 seconds in the spotlight. Yeah, so rest in peace, InfoPath, right? I know a lot of people really enjoyed that tool, and it probably had a good around 20 years. I remember back when .NET came out, somebody asked me to take a look at InfoPath, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. This is different. And here we are. I would say we're going to have a good 20-year stint of the Power Platform, maybe longer, 25, until they decide doing something. And maybe AI just takes over everything after 20 years anyway.
I think that's what we're doing right now. We're training AI. So you notice all of our Power Apps is programming in the cloud, right? So we have all of our stuff is gathered in one place, essentially. And now AI can just go through that, and we're training AI. That's what we're doing.
What it feels like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I noticed here, guys, is we have our own component. We've got this tab list in here. And look, I can change this using this modern themes, and it's changing it underneath the scenes. Okay. So that's still in effect. Now, essentially what I need to do, Kurt, is really build a lot of functionality, a lot of properties in this menu. So I just sort of going over some of them here. I'll be adding a lot more. I sort of want to get to just getting this menu functional. Okay. So we're doing something here. Now, I did want to mention, Chris, maybe you didn't catch it. You talking about new forms. We do have a new form right here, and it does look quite a bit better than the classic form. So I don't know if you're at all hinting at that, but yeah, so we have a classic form and now a modern form. Okay. So one of the things I want to do is make sure we at least have 3 screens here. So I'm going to say new screen blank, new screen blank. Okay, so now we got 3 screens at least. Now, let me let you guys in on a little secret here. Microsoft doesn't really want us using app on start anymore, or at least they're trying to get us to use other things than just the app on start, to initialize variables, to go fetch some data, that type of thing. What they've given us, and this used to be a preview, so like these modern controls, and it's called named formulas. Okay, so instead of going in the app on start and putting a bunch of code in here that's going to create all of our menu items for our menu, anything that's like that, like any constants. Now, I know in the world of Power Apps, there's no such thing as a constant. If you don't mind me, Kurt, I'm going to put you on the spotlight. In just general programming, what is a constant? Why would you use a constant? Because it's sort of what we're effectively doing here in the next few moments. Go.
Okay, constants are cheap. That's the number one reason why we do constants in programming. Okay,
What does that mean? What does cheap mean?
Well, I'm going to get there. Constants are resolved before the program runs, right? They never change. Constants never change. That's the reason why they're called constants. Variables change. That's why they're called variables. So constants are resolved before the program even runs, and it puts those values it doesn't put those values in the traditional stack that we have to deal with variables. Okay. So they are cheap in terms of memory usage and cheap in terms of processing. Constants are great for programming because they can work similar to variables in that you can have a label, like he's got menu text sitting out there right now, and he's getting ready to put a literal first screen. That's a constant. He's just created a constant right there because he put literals in there. That means that can't change. Now, if he put some variable in there, like a LOC screen name or screen to go to type thing, then it would be a variable. All right. So it's a constant. Constants are cheap. They can't change. Now, what's nice about them is that you can assign them it like he's doing right now in this formula section, or if you want to go back to the way that is not recommended at this point to go into the app on start. You could do those things and you can label those things before your program even runs, and you've got your values working. So, and okay, so the other good thing about constants is that you can change things in one place. If he's got that menu text, if he's using that menu text that he created up there in 1,000 places, he doesn't have to go and change that all over the place for every instance of it. He just changes it one time at the beginning of his program, and it goes everywhere else. There's a saying, an acronym called DRY. Don't repeat yourself, right? So he's doing it one time. He assigns that value one time in the formula, and now he can use that everywhere throughout his program. Shoo! There you go.
I love it. I love having you around, Kurt.
He just puts me on the spot like that all the time. I'm sitting here thinking, I'm thinking about dandelions and Christmas, and then he goes, "Tell me about constants." Whoop.
That's how I feel. We were talking here for a bit. It's like, okay, let's get to work. I'm like, okay, what am I doing here? How do I create a component?
But I'm absolutely lost. It's been so long since I did a component. I'm sitting here going, you said, "What do you think, Kurt?" I'm like, I don't know.
What's funny is Kurt taught me most of what I know about building components and object-oriented programming. It's hilarious. He's forgotten more stuff than I probably know.
Well, I could program a component in C or in Pascal, but just in Power Apps, I've done maybe one component in Power Apps. So I just haven't. You know how it is. If you don't, you can learn something, but if you don't use it, you lose it. If you don't do it enough. Now, if you ask me how to do a lookup, I could sit there and do that with my eyes closed because I do them about 1 million times a day. But I just don't use components very often, and I'm impressed that you're being able to do that. Because I know that you have slept since the last time you did a component.
Yeah.
Plus, you put a degree of difficulty on it where you're doing a component on a modern control, which we don't even know how they react inside of a component yet. And you're doing this over live stream. So that's pretty impressive. That's F-16 pilot type stuff right there.
I got another question for you, Kurt. So I created a menu up in the formula, app.formula. So I need to go run on start, app on start?
Shouldn't have to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I won't click on it then.
Let's see.
I'll go over to the second menu. Now we'll deal with our menu here in a moment. But here's just a tabless control. And look, it's got this by default. And what's funny is when we use these square brackets, you and I, we call this an array.
It is.
They're calling it a table here, which is funny, isn't it?
It's not a table. That is a literal array. Oh, it's not even a record. Okay.
You know, when we went over to name formulas, I gave it a name. Did you notice what I prefixed my
FX?
FX, because the language that we're writing code in here, guys, is PowerFX.
PowerFX. Yeah. And FX is the universal, because of Excel, acronym for formula, right?
That's true. Yeah, you see there's a little FX right there too?
Yep.
Isn't that cute?
Isn't that cute?
Now,
Well, there's actually a language called F out there too, by the way, which is nothing but this kind of formula stuff.
F sharp,
Nope. Yeah, F sharp. Maybe it is F sharp. Yeah.
and then you've got functional programming.
Yeah.
Look at what we're dealing with here, Kurt. So I set this up. We got 2047, 48, 49.
Ordinal data.
Yeah. Why did it start with 2047? Elvis, you know? I find that odd. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't know why it's given us these numbers.
It's got something to do with either memory or the way it's being assigned. Maybe there's 2047 assignments at that point.
This is the data that we gave it, and it's just pulling out random number ordinal. I shouldn't say random. They're ordinal numbers, but why did it start at that number? You think maybe it was pulling in the sort order, right?
Yeah.
So let's click on this. Let's see what we're dealing with here on this tab control over here in the fields. Oh, well, this is sort of like a data table control or a form control. Well, there's our three things right there. How many things can it display? It looks like it's only going to display one. Let's go ahead and say all three. Let's see what happens here. First screen set. So it takes the menu text, which was the first item. Now, if I move this around and put the sort order up there, now it's going to display the numbers. Isn't that interesting? So I'm going to take that out. What about the screen to go to? Does it error loading? It didn't like that. Okay, so I'm going to take that out. So I find it weird that it pulled in those numbers. Now it's really having a hard time now.
See, yeah, it is.
So I might have to go in here, remove all of them, and then just bring in the menu text, which is what I want to be displayed there.
So one of the things I don't know if we can do, and I doubt we can, Darren, but I guess this is why I'm not really enamored with components and power-ups yet, because you have to literally go into the component and tell how many screens you can have, right? So let's say we wanted to have 10 screens, or maybe our component should just go out there and calculate the screens that you have in your program currently in your app and put them in there for you. There's no way for us to dynamically set that, is there?
You're right. Yeah. I want to dynamically create screens. I want to dynamically, programmatically create controls. I want to do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Fields. I want to create fields.
What's that?
I want to dynamically create fields. Yeah,
absolutely.
You can't do it. And to me, it's really, if you say you're going to give us this capability, then give us the capability, So I guess my mind is still trying to wrap around that we're only doing 3 screens. What happens if we want 4 screens?
I have an answer to that.
What is it?
Go search for Darren Neese and say massive app. I have a video here that does just that. I create 100 screens in my app. Did I ever share this with you? This is before you started with me full time.
No, I've never seen this one.
I went through here and created 100 screens. Okay. And I created everything else as a component. So I didn't have to. So every screen had this component. And I'd go update this one component that had the header, the menu, everything. So if I want everything to be updated, the whole app wide. And then over an app start, maybe I need to move that over to formulas now. I've got something that references every single screen. And I don't rename the screens. And then I dump it over into a database so that I can dynamically pull in screen headings and all kinds of cool stuff.
Very nice. And I see you used a gallery in that. So that's So I guess you have a better menu control than what this new modern control can give you, huh?
It's the closest thing I came to having like dynamic menu items and data-driven menus.
Yeah. Great stuff. That's good stuff, Darren.
So
again, you're trying to find workarounds.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what you do. That's what programmers do.
So I've created a new property here, or about to, called menu items. So this will be a table. Okay, table. of values that will be passed into the component, and it will use it as the data source. I'm going to click create. Okay. And what I want to do for this in this control, instead of that, I'm going to say CMP menu dot menu items. And look at that. We've got 108. Isn't that funny? Now, do we have any fields in here yet? And no, it's like using some type of a sample thing here. That's a little weird, huh?
Wow. Okay.
What you need to do is give it a good sampling of the data that it's going to have eventually. Okay. So, well, that's easy. I'm just going to go over here to app formulas. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this table value. Now I can't have that semicolon in there, of course. But if I go over to this component, by default, this controls items, not for the tab, but for the component. Okay, so if I click on the component, you see menu items here. If I go over to the right side, it will bring up this panel, but you click on the left side, it will bring this up. This is what it thinks that it has to work with.
Huh.
That's not it. That's not what we want to work with. We want to work with a sampling. You at least want one record in here where your columns are defined. Okay. Otherwise, you're going to be having a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Because Kurt, with Power Apps, once you define a structure of something, whether it be a variable, a collection, a table, it like hones in on that schema, and it's immutable. It doesn't want to change it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give that as a sample. But here, what it's going to actually pull to, it's going to pull in whatever is being passed in. So we've got that. Now we can go over to this edit and add in, well, I might have to close out and come back in because it's a little confused. Let me try this again. Okay, we've got that. If I go look at it, this is our new structure. Okay. If I click on items, there it is. And then I need to go into fields, add a field. See, it still has that old stuff. So what I'm going to have to do is reboot, get out and come back in, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Go back in there. Nobody's fallen asleep on me, have they?
Got quiet. It got quiet.
Yeah. Oh, we got an error. What is going on here? It doesn't seem to like this.
Be
Okay.
right back there.
For some reason, it kept my semicolon in there.
Be right back.
Sure. Now, if I hover over the red squiggly here, the table passed in has none of the expected columns. Sample Boolean, sample numbers, sample string field. Okay. So let's see if we can figure this out here. And it has that semicolon in there. Take that out. Format the text. I'm going to save it. And let's see if I can pull in those fields again. And I am not able to do that. Okay. So again, I'm going to back out, leave it, and then come back in because it had that semicolon in there. Maybe it confused it. And we're dealing with what I feel like are beta components. These modern controls, they don't have all the issues ironed out yet, but I'm hoping that we can come up with a good menu control. Okay. So I'm going to go over here. Looks like we've got 3 items. That's looking good. I'm going to click on fields. There we go. If we just keep our patience, keep our wits about us. There we go. How you like that? So we should probably also implement sorting here. Let's sort it. We got a good sort order. Okay, there we go. Sort order. So in case let's say we got 100 menu items and we want the very last one to appear at the top. Well, we could do that and we'll be right there. Okay. So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to go back over to screens. Okay. We're looking a little better here. Okay. Now, what about going off to these other screens? Now I'm going to remove this guy. I'm not sure if I need him anymore. And I'm going to size this up a little more, make it a little prettier. Put it near the top. Okay. Now, what we want to have happen is if we click on these individual items, it should take us over to the screen, right? We'll go over to our component. And then for this tab control, ooh, look at this. What is this, Kurt? What is this menu text? Well, we do know that it was, oh my goodness gracious. I guess I'll save it to my computer. Okay. It doesn't want to save it in the cloud. It wants to give me the file. Okay, I got it. Okay. Now I'm going to try to save it again. Hopefully let's go ahead and publish it too. See this little control in here? This is interesting, Kurt. This is something new we haven't seen before. It almost looks like what do you call it? A canvas. Have you guys ever heard of a canvas control within Canvas Power Apps?
Yeah, it allows you to scroll. Yeah.
Yeah, it allows you to scroll, and then you got like a data card inside. So it almost looks like the icon for that. Okay, so that's interesting. And look, this is almost like a form. You know, you got data cards and you have to unlock them to use them. Look at this, Kurt. We've got field display name, field type S, which I'm sure is string, short for string. And then we got the order in there. That's interesting. It's sort of important, I think, to sort of point these things out that we're discovering as we're building something new. Okay. But what I want to have happen is when they click on one, let's go over to advanced and let's see if we can find any on something properties, which are actually events. What's that?
We want on stuff. Find the on stuff.
On stuff. That's right. So you've got certain properties that are called event type of properties, and it will start with on, the prefix on change, on select. Okay. So I'm going to go with on select because that's typically, you know, that the user has interacted with or clicked on something. So what I want to do is navigate. Okay. We'll navigate away, but we're going to look at self.selected dot screen to go to. Now, I think something we learned here recently, Kurt, is that we don't want to use any screen transitions, right?
Right. Not with this tab control because it just doesn't look right.
Yeah. So I'm going to say none. And I'm not going to pass any parameters into this because it needs to be really dynamic here. Now, have you ever noticed sometimes property, you know, when you put code in here, sometimes you can put a semicolon at the end and you have to have a semicolon. You've got more than one line. It's not required for the last line. And so sometimes you got to put a semicolon in there. Sometimes you don't put a semicolon in there. Do you have any like really hard, fast rule that tells you if for sure you should have a semicolon there or not? And this is for either of you guys.
With where you're at, you put a semicolon if it's not the last line, like you say.
Mm-hmm. But this is just one line. And it allowed me.
It should allow you to do it without one, right?
Mm-hmm. All right, so check this out. Let me go over to screen. And let me just drop on a classic button that we're very used to. And I go over here to text. And look, there's a string literal. And this is my FX code window, right?
Right.
And I put a semicolon in there. It doesn't like it. Why is that? Why is it on sometimes I can put semicolons in some places I can't put semicolons?
Okay. So I'm not sure about that why, but I just know that the semicolon is meant for a command separator. You don't have a command. This isn't the kind of like thing that you're in the on change, the events, you're actually running code. You're actually running code. Okay. And you're assigning values in here. So I would say that that's probably the reason why, because it's a command line separator. It's interesting that in the FX section, you have to have a semicolon at the end of your lines.
Yeah. So for this button, if I go into on select, and this is something where I could have 2 lines of code. I could say
Yep.
notify, and I could have something cute
Yep.
display at the top of the screen, and I put a semicolon, and it's okay there.
Yep.
And then I could have it go do something like navigate to screen 2. So I've got it doing 2 things. Do I have to put a semicolon at the end of this?
Not on the last one.
Not on the last one. But somebody somewhere back over 20 years ago taught me you got to be consistent, Darren.
Yeah.
I always put a semicolon at the last line.
Yep.
In this case, and it's fine with it, okay, but it's not necessary. But
You take that into C programming languages or Pascal programming languages. If you have one line of code in a conditional block, you don't have to do semicolons, right? But if you have more than one, you have to do the semicolon. Again, if you're consistent, though, you put them everywhere if you're going to put it, right? So
Now, we've got 2 types of code, and this is the distinction I'm making here. Maybe we should have a personal pocket coaching session on this that just hones in on this one thing.
yeah.
Okay. If I go over to a button on the text, and there's all kinds of properties like this. If you put a semicolon in there, it's not going to be happy with you.
That's right.
Here's the distinction. There's 2 words I'm going to introduce to you guys. Some of you may already know this if you're coders. Declarative or imperative. Declarative or imperative. Some of your properties are declarative. Like here, the text. I'm declaring that text is going to be button. I'm going to declare it. Okay. If you do declaration properties, no semicolons. Nope. No semicolons at all. Then you've got imperative, which means you've got instructions. So here we could give this a color of red, a background color of red. Well, that's declarative. I'm not telling it to do anything. I'm just stating a fact. I want that color to be red for this button. So you go over here and you click on this guy and you say red. Okay. And by you doing that, you did a declarative action. You declared it to be red. Then you have imperative. How do you know if something's imperative or not, Kurt or Elvis?
It's going to happen.
On. Do you see? I'm in on select. This is the only property where I can put a semicolon in there.
Yeah. Another way of looking at that would be the on functions or properties. Those are going to be actions, and the others are going to be
exactly.
It's either an action or a description, right? In object programming, it's either going to be a method. It's going to be a method, but it's going to be a method or a property, right? So,
yeah. So, whenever you hear the word imperative, think action. When you hear declarative, well, you're just setting it, and it could be a variable, it could change, but you're declaring it. It's always going to be this, whatever you put in there, whether it be a static or a variable there. Okay.
yeah.
Now, where all this in the world of Power Apps, where this became a big deal was with the app on start. Okay. It says start screen, but if I go over here, so an app object has 3 imperative properties. So we got on start. And whenever they introduce this new property that always pops up first now, ever since they put it in there, the start screen, all of a sudden everybody's talking about, imperative versus declarative. Yeah, start screen, you just want to give it a start screen. Let's say we want screens 3 in there to be the very first screen. Okay, before they created this thing, we would have an on start and put a navigate at the end of on start to go to screen 3. Or you take the screen 3 and you say, move up to the top one. So they created this as a new way of doing this. And it was all this imperative versus declarative was all the rage back then. And it was never really clear. I never really heard somebody put it out there like the on stuff. That's imperative. Those are actions. That's where you put the semicolons at the end. I had a hackathon with Microsoft, and everybody was in the room was trying to get some code to work, and they put a semicolon there and they couldn't. And I was starting to wonder, like, yeah, that semicolon shouldn't be there, but why? So it's sort of good to sort of really spell that out. So, and And as we're building components, it's important to realize the difference here. So we've got navigate on the on select property, or we would say the on select event. Okay. Um, okay. So it's going to navigate off. Now, Kurt, a lot of times when we do navigate, we provide a third parameter. So we like to pass in local variables.
Yeah.
But it's going to have a problem because the screen that it's going to is dynamic. You cannot pass a parameter into navigate as the third parameter, the third argument, if it's dynamic, because whenever you do a navigate, pass a parameter, it actually creates that local variable in a specific screen because it's dynamic.
Yeah.
If I try to pass in a parameter, let's say a local variable, it's going to complain at us. I just thought I'd throw out that tidbit as well while we're looking at all this stuff. So let's see if this works. Go over to screen, and we're going to eventually end up on these other screens. Let's put in. There is something that I know, Kurt, when I brought it over, you really liked this. There is such thing called a header control, and we're going to have a pocket coaching session on this. I'm going to move these two down, pull this all the way up. In fact, I'm going to bring this menu right here and make this as wide as that. Okay. And I'm going to copy these two things. I'm going to go over to screen 2, paste it there. Now you notice when I paste it, it's going to tell me what screen I'm on. So if I click on screen 2, it says screen 2. I click on screen 1, it says screen 1. So we do get the indication that it is working the way that we're intending. Okay. However, you notice if I click on screen 2, I'm on screen 2, but screen 2 isn't selected. So now we sort of, in order for this menu, for us to feel good about this menu, actually using it in a project, that needs to be fixed at least, right? So what I will do, and you always want to put as much customization and code in the component so you don't have to duplicate stuff in properties, okay? So for example, we've got this component, and we've got this tab menu control inside this component. What about selected items? What do we have here? Do we have any type of selected items for this tab? Thought I saw something before. Default selected items.
Default selected. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're looking for one particular item. So let's do a filter on what we have, and all of our menu items, it's in CMP menu dot menu items. So we're going to do a filter on that, and let's go do a search. The second parameter for the filter is the where clause. If you're a SQL developer, right?
Yeah.
It's the criteria. What item do you want, or what items do you want? So we're going to go look at
Active screen, right?
screen to go to dot name, if that equals app dot active screen dot name, that should give us the one that should be selected. So if I go over here and I run this, it does say first screen. If I go to second screen, it's not working. And on the third screen, okay, it finally worked. So what's going on here?
Ooh.
Yeah, it's not. Now, is the problem our code, or is the problem this is like a beta control here? But that's what I expect to a menu. If I'm going to use this menu in a program, I expect that to be like that. So let me just click around, see if I can find any reoccurring patterns. Sometimes you need to identify any patterns to sort of narrow down what's causing the issue. Okay. Now I put it in the component, so I know it's that code, that functionality is in those 3 screen instances. Okay. Now I'm going to go look at default selected items. Okay. And we should only get one item based on this. And I wonder, see, this doesn't say selected item, it's selected items. So there could be more than one item there. What if I force this? Now, it should only be giving me one, but let's say if I said first, give me one item. Let's see if that even makes a difference. It shouldn't make a difference, but as you called it, Kurt, sometimes it's about finding the little workaround.
Yeah, so far, I gotta say, I think your gallery solution in your menu component that you currently have
Yeah,
is still superior.
that
And
makes me feel good.
I'm starting well, and that could just be because this tab control is meant to be a tab control is usually meant for one screen. You got one screen and you do different actions based on that. And we're trying to do different screens where you have that gallery. That gallery really helps a lot. It helps you be more dynamic, you know.
Yeah, it really does. So I'm looking at what we did earlier in the week with the Accelerator students. And if I'm not mistaken,
We did do this before and
we
had it
got it working, didn't we?
Yep.
Okay. So if I
We
click
did.
on first screen, there it is. Second screen. Ooh.
Maybe it wasn't working, huh? Ooh.
Yeah. Now let me show you. Now we didn't create it as a component. That's why I really wanted to dig in and do this. And in Luick selected, it will work only when you select the item in the screen. Okay. So let's go back over here and actually, because I don't think that there is a selected. And that's what I was hoping for, but I do not see it there. Okay. We're looking at the only thing that it has here is default selected items. Let's put all of our brain cells together and see if we can figure this out. So first didn't really do us any good there. Okay. What if we do a lookup? Now, what's the difference between a filter and a lookup? Anybody tell me? They have the exact same arguments you pass in. There's the data source, just like a filter,
Well,
and there's your criteria.
a filter brings back a table and a lookup brings a record. Unless you have a third parameter, it brings back a field value, but it still returns a record.
Yeah, so a filter will bring back either 0, 1, or multiple items, depending upon the criteria, right? Now, a lookup has the ability to do the same thing, but it's only going to give you one record, the first one it comes across.
The first occurrence. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm gonna keep that with lookup. Let's see if that has any difference at all. Makes a difference at all. Now, what happens on the on the visible event property for a screen? What happens if I were to reset our component? You think that would help us out at all?
Well, now Mark says over here in the private chat, he says, I'm not sure why this might work, but if you publish it and run it as an end user, I think it might work. It worked for me on an app I was working on at work.
Very good. I like it.
Merry Christmas, sirs. Stay safe.
Absolutely. All right. So what I'm going to do is go in here and I'm going to go and run this as a user. Okay. Okay. First screen. Now we're sitting here on the third screen. Why are we sitting on the third screen? This is hilarious because the app start screen, I put screen 3.
You messed it up. That's the reason why this isn't working, Darren.
But here's the deal. You know, it should have selected this third one since we're there. If I hit second,
you need to force a selection. Nothing got selected yet.
Look at this. None of the 3 are selected now. If I go to the third screen,
Ah,
That's something.
toy language.
Now, what happens if I've got an idea? This has got to work.
Mark
gonna
said,
bring-
"Yikes!"
Yikes.
He said, "Yikes!"
This is the type of stuff we do. We just figure it out one way or another, right?
Yeah.
Let's look at app.activescreen.name. Okay. Now, if you're over here in the component, there is no active screen because this thing actually is in the screen. We have to go over here. And let me expand this a little bit. Look at that. So it says screen 1 there. I go over to second screen. Let's expand this. There's screen 2. I'm thinking it's getting a little confused a little bit on what the active screen is. There's screen 3. Now, what happens in the filter, in the lookup, is I reference that label. Okay. Because the app.activescreen.name, that changes so quickly right there, you know? I don't want that to be a literal. I want it to be dynamic here. And I say text. Okay. So let's try this out. Second screen. Nope. Will it beat us? Are we giving up yet? Or are we going to continue to go until we figure it out?
Well, I don't. How are we doing on time?
Yeah, we've been going for a while here. I'm going to add a new custom property, and I'm going to call this act. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know, but why don't we? Does it accept a string or a record value for the default selected items? For the
What
tab.
it's looking for is the item. So if the menu is set up as like we've got items within a collection, it's expecting one of those items.
Okay. Okay. What if we manually type in the value? Maybe it will change. Maybe we can try that.
Yeah,
Maybe
so
on
I
the
think
default selected items of the tab.
I think you and I are thinking along the same lines here. So if I say active screen name here, and then as default, well, I do app.activescreen.name, but I can change it. Okay. So if I actually pass this in to not be dynamic, but well, let's see if that works itself. So we say CMP menu, active screen name. Let's see if that has any bearing on it at all. Nope. Now, what was that? What you were thinking, or were you talking about something else?
Yeah. I was talking about can we go to the component area? Maybe yes, on the tab itself, the default selected items. I was thinking on the tab menu, the tab modern control, the default selected items. So I was thinking maybe we can parse in, let me say, type in a string value there, second screen, and let's see if it automatically selects that. Yes, on the FX formula bar. Maybe we type in second screen string.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe we can comment out. Yes, exactly. And type in maybe second string or.
So keep in mind, it is expecting, if you look at the menu items here, okay, if I click on this and go to menu items, it's expecting an item within this table. So it's expecting one of these three things.
So for the heck of it, then just do the second one, the second item. Pass in the second item just to see if it works. So it'd be the last of top two, first two or whatever, first in.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have a function called index that we could use.
We could do index as well.
Yeah.
And
So we
shame
could
on
say
me.
2.
Shame
I
on
thought
me.
that's what you meant. What did you say that was different?
I was doing the first. I was getting all nasty. First in,
Oh.
do the last of the first in. We got in. Oh no, we got index. Duh. Yeah, I've been working with index like crazy. Okay. Never mind. So what happens when you do that?
So we gave it an index of 2.
Yes. And what was the start? What was the default selected
Okay.
item?
And in fact, if I select that, it should show me a single record, 2. Okay. Now go over here. We'll go over to screen 1.
No,
There's screen 1. If I click on screen 2,
it's a hot mess.
I can't get second screen to be selected for the life of me here.
So that property doesn't do what we think it does. That property does not do what we think it does. It's got nothing to do with what we're trying to do. I don't think.
Yeah, something's not right here. Now, something I was going to do there for a moment before we switch gears was I was going to reset this.
Okay.
And let's see
reset
if
each
that
time
works. Now
it's
that's
selected.
I've only done it on the third screen. If I click on third screen, oh, look at that.
Could you do a reset each time it's selected? What happens?
Ooh, I like it. So, you know what? Let's see. We have an on change.
What changes? What changes if you're doing an on change? What triggers the on change from that tab? It's got to be the selected item, right? But not the default selected item. It's got to be some sort of a selected item.
So it's going to be changed dynamically because we have default selected items that's filtering or looking something else that's dynamic, right? But the user isn't instigating that. It's the
Right.
value underneath it that's doing it. So
Right.
maybe instead of
But what,
up here on the on select, well, we don't want to navigate based on that, but maybe on the change, we
maybe
say reset. Now, can we reset a self? We can't.
it's going to be secondary. Yeah. What happens if you put that? What happens if you put that code that you got on the on select, put that in the on change? I don't know. What happens?
So here's a label here. I can go on the on select and then I could say reset tab menu. It doesn't like that. Okay, so I think
Good
somebody
try,
brought
though.
this up.
Good try.
They say you can't reset a modern control. Do
Oh,
you remember
wow.
somebody saying that in the chat?
I do think I remember that.
This function expects a resettable control. There are some controls you cannot reset, even for the classic, like
That's
an
right.
image. You can't reset an image control.
That's right.
So Francisco says, happy holidays. Yeah, happy holidays to you.
Maybe we need to do a little more research on this thing. Darren,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Mark says, I use a collection for my items. Could that make a difference?
That's essentially what we're doing with that table, right? That we're passing in. We're essentially bringing a collection in.
Now, the question is, Mark, and I'll bring Mark on here if you'd like to talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
So he used a collection. Now, does it work for you, Mark?
Yes, it works, but I wish I knew exactly why it worked. That's my problem. I'm like,
Let's switch this over.
Let's put a collection. Let's put in a collection. It shouldn't matter though, because that's essentially what we're doing. Right?
exactly.
Yeah. Boy, wouldn't that Kurt, you and I have uncovered some crazy stuff in Power. So remember how we put code in a button and then we call it from another button, and
Yeah,
that's the only way to get some things to work.
too much code in one button. You got to make another button.
Okay, so here's a wild question for you guys. Name formulas. How do we create a collection in name formulas?
I don't think you can. I don't think you can. I tried it. And it wouldn't let me do anything dynamic in there like that.
Yeah. The collect. Let's say clear collect. And the thing is, it's just like such a weird thing in here. The first thing you do is you give it a name here. So we say menu. And then what comes after that? Well, we'd have to do table, right? Yeah. Still not going to like that. Has some invalid arguments. Is there anything invalid within my clear collect here?
So we could collect the in our program, we could collect that table, that menu. So that menu is being created right there, but you could collect that menu in the collection in your on visible property.
Let's see if the undo works in Power Apps yet. No, it does not work. All right, so let's get all this back out. Let's go back because I like what you just said there.
So we have that table set up nice.
We still need that. We'll hit the format text now.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you're saying is we could. Now, where should we put it? Now, Mark, where did you put yours? Did you go in app on start?
He did app on start.
Old school.
Old school.
I mean, yep, app on start, or you could do it on visible, whichever way you want to do it.
That works. Yeah.
On visible for a screen. Oh, come on. Menu items.
There it is.
And we might as well do the sort here so that we don't have to do it anywhere else.
Yeah.
Sort, order. We have a collection. This is interesting, guys. This is good stuff. By the way, guys, Mark is our resident SharePoint expert, and I'm hoping he allows me to pull him on here. And I want to do some SharePoint content on this channel. I think it would be very popular because 70% of people use SharePoint lists as a data source within Power Apps, but you never heard that before, Kurt, huh?
I have absolutely no evidence to back that up. Although you do.
Look at these menu items, Kurt.
Okay, so what's happening here? And how come I don't have that nasty IntelliSense that you have on my Power Apps? I'm glad I don't have that.
What are you talking about?
I still have the old IntelliSense. I don't know why you got yours like the way you have yours.
I created a brand new project. Okay. So if you go, so this might be a learning experience for everybody here. Go into support. What version do you have?
Well, I don't know.
I bet you I got a newer version than you, Kurt.
You may. Go into now. How'd you get there now? Wait a minute. Okay.
Go into settings for the project.
Oh, I gotta go. I gotta bring a project up. Hold on. I don't have project up. Don't I have? I thought I had a project. I've always got a project up. Shame on me. Okay. I'm going to do this latest one I just did. And which was 4 days ago. So go ahead and do what you're doing. I'll get back with you.
Okay. I'm going to keep it up here on the screen so you can compare it.
He's always got he's got a label.
So I'm going to take that button out. All right. So what I did notice is really concerning to me. If I go over to menu items, look at this. I've got this default value here. I don't want that default value there. I wanted it to use the FX menu. Okay. So let me go over here, click on this menu items. It shouldn't be using that. It should be using my FX menu. Screen 3. This thing, FX menu. So now let's see if this thing works. Screen 2, screen 3. Nope, this still doesn't work. So now what I'm going to do.
This new project I have has that garbage IntelliSense.
Now that you brought it up.
Yep, it's the same project number. Yep, that's what it is.
So What I'm going to use now is the collection that we created in App on Start.
Okay, what did I
Okay.
miss? Oh boy. What's it say? Oh, empty table.
It's empty. You know why?
Because we haven't.
We need to run on Start.
Yep.
Okay. So now in this control, we got call menus. I'm gonna copy that. I'm gonna go to screen 2. I'm gonna click on the control menu items. I'm gonna paste that there. I'm almost gonna be a little upset if this thing works, and I think it will because Mark just indicated that. I'm gonna take that reset out there. Screen on. Okay, very good. Let's try this out. First screen. Oh, look, it works. Second screen. Oh,
No.
I got to click on it twice. Third screen. Nope.
It's almost like the toggle the toggle problem that we were having with the toggle control, where you got to do it like sometimes you got to do it twice, or it gets sporadic, right?
But you figured that out.
I did, sir. I did.
So what was the solution there, Kurt?
I did not do any changing of the values in the toggle within the toggle. I went into the gallery that the toggle was associated with. So on the on select of the gallery, I did the changing of the values, and it worked.
Galleries are so nice.
They are. And I am convinced that this tab is not good for menus.
I'm a little sad because I was so excited when I saw the tab control. I'm like, oh, that would be a really slick and easy way to create a menu.
Yeah. But you've got a slick and easy way of doing it. So
I'm going to bring up a project that I've been working on that uses my Jumpstart kit, and I'm going to show you how we handle it there.
Yeah.
And you can see that it's working,
Yep.
as long as it comes up quickly here. So I'll show you why my header control, it allows for a company logo, the text, it puts a person's name, email address, and their profile. I think my header control looks a little slicker than theirs. Then we've got the menu here. Now my menu handles icons, images. Now, because this uses SQL Server and I had the SQL Server shut down if it's not talked to after a while, that's the error that just came up. It's going to take, it probably takes 20 seconds for that SQL Server to wake back up. So don't want anybody concerned about that. It's just going to pop up a few times there. Let me go into my gallery. We've got a gallery here. What's nice about a gallery is we go down and we have got, let's see. There's the items. We have an on select items. And I was looking at the default. Why isn't the default? Because if I change this to a different screen, that menu item is selected. And that's what I want to duplicate. Now that I look at my menu, it's like, oh, this is like really large and clunky, like the classic controls, right?
Maybe you can make it less clunky.
You know what? With a gallery, you have so much flexibility. I bet I can make a better looking menu than the tablets can do. And I'll have it implement images and all kinds of stuff.
But
I just thought we could do something really cool with that tab control.
But can you make yours do the ellipsis?
I could, not as easily, because it's already built into it there. So I am a little I'm a little surprised that I was almost positive I had a default here that was looking at the app active screen. Now, if I go up here and look at the property for the nav here, we've got a lot of properties that have been set up. We got menu items, we got hover color, we got icons or images, and we also have yeah, I don't have selected item there. I guess the gallery is just a better, more seasoned control that can handle this. Unless I'm missing something, and I might be missing something. Yeah. So, it's not a good feeling to feel like I couldn't figure something out inside of a live stream.
I don't
But,
know. I feel
um,
like we got we did a good exploration on it though. I kind of feel
Yeah.
like we did get a lot done though. I mean, we went into this never really exploring the tab more than just a few minutes like we did and said, let's go make this, So it was a good project to use to focus on that tab control.
This is how you know that you're a developer at heart. There's going to be a part of me in you that's going to bug us. If you can't, like I truly believe if I spend enough time with this, I can get it to work. And do you ever wake up in the middle of the night or you stay up late because you want some closure?
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't get closure on that day. Sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh, I bet I haven't tried this or that.
Now, Darren, when you get to be my age, you've experienced that so many times that you just accept failure.
You just
okay,
go to
I'm going to go sleep. No,
So-
we're good. It's not necessarily you. It's not necessarily you. It's maybe the wrong component for the wrong thing.
Yeah.
You probably could fix it and make it right, but you've already got the solution better right now. And until you can find a better way, a better solution, you stick with what you got, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like we've gone over a lot of modern control type of stuff. You guys have found out about our personal pocket coaching.
Yep.
And every once in a while you guys will hear little tidbits about the Accelerator. So you guys, if you have any questions, please join us over on the community. And so Nick just mentioned what we had tried, but this is the first time I saw it. So this is probably about 10 minutes ago. Make a table and then collect it. So
he was on the right idea. He had the right idea that we were thinking. He was along with us.
And I almost want, I sort of want to pull Mark back on. Mark, does it really work on yours or?
Yep, it does. And I'm like, why is it still working?
It's still working?
Yeah, I do lookup and then the collection for the default items. I'm just like comparing. I'm doing what you commented out there.
Look, Kurt, I still have that index crap in there.
Let's go. Maybe we haven't failed yet.
Maybe.
Oh.
And then instead of, try that instead of.
That might be.
We were about to give up too.
Yeah, we were.
For mine.
I still want to give up. Yeah.
You still
for mine, I have the collection right there as part of the lookup instead of obviously I'm not doing a component. So that's
you're not in the component. That's probably part of it right there.
Yeah. Mine's just plain old tab control.
So there's a whole nother level of stuff that it's got to communicate with to get to the component. So
Okay, so we're doing
Wanda D says, Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas, Wanda D.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Because
I'm taking most of next week off. I sort of want to still do my live stream next Saturday is the 30th. So I haven't decided if I want to do a live stream or not. But
I'm here.
Here?
Let's go. Let's do it. Let's do it. People still, the funny thing about it is it's a good time for people to slow down a little bit, but for the world at large doing Power Apps, this is a good time for people just to spend time with Power Apps and learn too, where they're not so busy with work, I
might bang my head up against the wall a few more times before I completely give up. I may not do it live on the air, but guys, really what the question that you need to ask yourselves at this point is, are you going to sign up for the pocket coaching? But the big burning question is, what video of mine are you going to watch next? Right? And YouTube thinks you're going to like this video next. Let's see if they're right. Or you can select this playlist, which I've selected for you based on the content you're currently watching. Guys, got to hurry. Click one of them. Otherwise, YouTube's going to autoplay some other video.